What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal, with this late night impromptu live. This is indeed going to be a summary of this week's topics, certainly because I got kind of hit hard on some of the particular topics we discuss. Some of my audience, my beloved MAGA, tends to think that the host got it wrong. You guys know I always invite a little bit of dissenting opinion. Nevertheless, that will be your opportunity this evening as we discuss a few of the topics we discussed earlier this week, particularly this afternoon. One being trying to disseminate between the Medal of Honor, typically awarded to combat veterans of all people, and comparing that to the Congressional Medal of Freedom, or the Medal of Freedom that is often provided by the President of the United States. Now, many of you folks are aware that President Trump confused, I won't say confused the two, but gave the Medal of Freedom hierarchy of sorts over the Medal of Honor. Now, this has angered many veterans simply because of the way Trump framed it, and due to how the Medal of Honor is generally obtained, often posthumously. Whereas the Medal of Freedom simply could mean the president favors you and wants to give you one. So, and I do see on the TikTok side, if you guys will bear with me on the YouTube side, I'm being told I'm glitching a bit on the TikTok side, so I will kick in the Wi-Fi and see if that makes a difference. Bear with me on the YouTube side. I see you folks are filtering in, but we're talking about President Trump giving the Medal of Freedom hierarchy over the Medal of Honor. And I do want to get your opinion on that. I did switch to the Wi-Fi side on the TikTok side of the house, so we'll see what happens with the numbers. But nevertheless, I want to get your opinion on whether Trump made a mistake, whether Trump is being taken out of context, or perhaps you have a different feeling on him comparing the medals all together. So we will run a clip by you, and we will discuss this on the other side. But this is President Trump discussing the two medals. In the comparison, now he's speaking in reference to a Medal of Freedom honoree and suggesting that she's in a better position because, unlike the Medal of Honor winners, she didn't get shot up or have to sustain combat.
The Presidential Medal of Freedom, that's the highest award you can get as a civilian. It's the equivalent of the Congressional Medal of Honor, but civilian version. It's actually much better because everyone gets the Congressional Medal of Honor. That's soldiers. They're either in very bad shape because they've been hit so many times by bullets, or they're dead. She gets it, and she's a healthy, beautiful woman. It's right. And they're rated equal. But she got the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and she got it and it's through committees and everything else. She's done an incredible job on addiction.
So what do you folks think now? You hear him at the end state that they are rated equal. So we're going to certainly be discussing that in regards to the Medal of Honor and the Medal of Freedom. Do you believe those two particular accolades are equal, as the former president suggests? Also, in regards to a secondary topic, I am continuing to be hammered by this. Now, you folks know that for some time I've been stating that one of my biggest concerns with the former president is him promising to give members of law enforcement immunity from prosecution. Now, I want to discuss this with you folks, certainly with my MAGA side of the aisle. Is this being taken out of context? Is President Trump being wrongfully hammered? Because I had no shortage of MAGA telling me that I'm taking it out of context in regards to President Trump promising to give police immunity from prosecution. Now, I make it clear to you folks that I do, with my day job, I drive, probably almost 100 miles a day, and just the fear of being pulled over during a traffic stop by a cop that has immunity from prosecution is concerning to me, and I'm assuming many of you other folks. But we'll play the clip, and this is something we will continue to discuss. I want to know if you folks believe that he's being taken out of context.
We're going to rebuild our cities and become a beacon of hope, safety, beauty, better than ever before. We're going to rebuild our cities. We're going to work with Democrat mayors who are running, in every instance, running them, Democrat mayors and many Democrat governors, and we're going to rebuild our cities. We're going to bring them back like they used to be. We're going to make them safe places again. We're going to give our police their power back, and we're going to give them immunity from prosecution. So they're not prosecuted for doing their job.
So the obvious question is, what part of the policeman's job in 2024 is impossible to achieve without additional immunity from prosecution being granted, as Trump is alluding to? So we're going to talk about those topics. In addition to that, Kamala Harris, President Trump is stating that she, quote unquote, broke the world. Not quite understanding what he means by that, but nevertheless, I want to talk to you folks. And last but not least, the notion that Democrats hate the United States. So we literally have 4 topics on this late night live. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. As always, you know how the program works. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone. We always are MAGA friendly. We've been that way since day one. We shall remain that way to eternity. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. We do not block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. That's how free speech works. We go left of Bernie Sanders to him having dinner with QAnon. So looking in the comments, carpe diem. No man is above the law except in a dictatorship. He's been saying the quiet part out loud. Pay attention. Well, some are stating that. Some are saying that, promising to get a police immunity from prosecution could take us down a dark, dark road. Going straight to the box, Valdez 303. Good evening. Welcome to the program, Valdez. So do you think this whole immunity thing, do you believe Trump is taken out of context on this?
This is what I believe. I am a Trump supporter, just so you know.
Okay.
But one thing I do not agree with is immunity for police. I think that everybody should be accountable for their actions. So that's one thing I don't agree with him on. But you got to remember, too, police already got immunity. It's not like it's going to be something new.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So what is he promising that they don't already have?
I don't know. He didn't say full immunity. I mean, that would be ridiculous.
Well, he didn't say full immunity, but he didn't say half either.
True. I think to me personally, I think they should get rid of immunity. I mean, if you're going to be a police officer, you should be able to do your job within accordance to the law and be held accountable if you don't do it right. That's just me though. So that's the only thing I don't agree with Trump on, is that whole immunity for police officers.
Yeah, and he stated. Now my clip I'm playing now is him saying it a week or two ago, but he just said it again yesterday at his rally in Bedminster, New Jersey. So he clearly means this. Now he is using it in context with lowering crime in Democratic cities. So he's suggesting that, I believe he stated that cops are not being treated right, and immunity would somehow, I guess, convince the public to treat them right. I don't quite get it. Any idea what he's getting at?
I'm not too sure. I think a lot of it might have to do with the riots that happened in 2020, because there was a lot of police officers that were held back, basically, because they really couldn't do anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
Governors were holding them back. So I'm not too sure what he means, man. That's a topic I'm really not too sure about, to be honest with you. But I don't believe anybody should have immunity. You should always be responsible for what you do as a police officer. Your actions should be, accountable.
Yeah, but I'm surprised. Now you are definitely adverse to him giving police immunity, but there are no shortage of folks that support Trump that are saying that this is a good idea. So you're not necessarily even in the majority. I've talked to a lot of MAGA that believe this is a good idea.
Yeah, I don't think it is. And I'm speaking as a Latino man. I grew up Democrat, but I changed my ways because I just realized that my ideology, basically runs with the Republicans more often than not. But yeah, immunity, fuel me, any kind of immunity is ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
I think everybody should be held accountable for what they do. If that's their job, then you got to do your job within the law.
Yeah. Well, in my humble opinion, I see it one or two ways. First of all, he's constantly talking about doing this in conjunction with liberal cities and liberal areas. So let's be clear. We know who the predominant criminals are in liberal democratic cities. It's people of color. So he wants to address crime in democratic areas by giving the cops immunity to deal with people of color. That's the way I'm interpreting it.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I really don't. I know I came up here, and I wanted to speak on it because, as a Trump supporter, like I said, I do agree, that I want him to be president, but I think that's something that he should take out of his campaign.
Yeah.
It don't fit well in my world.
No, it don't fit well in mine either. But then I want to ask you also, it appears as if he believes the Medal of Honor and the Medal of Freedom are the same. Are you aware of this? Because it's turning into a scandal of sorts. This is kind of forming as we're speaking over the last 24 hours or so. Are you aware of this?
I'm not. You have to say that again. Medal of Honor for who?
The Medal of Honor is usually provided to typically military personnel that have, basically accomplished some heroic feat, such as dropping on a grenade or taking rounds.
Yeah, I understand what that is. I'm just saying, who is he talking about giving the Medal of Honor to?
No, he's not talking about giving the Medal of Honor to anyone. He's talking about a woman that received the Medal of Freedom, which is the highest medal you can give to a civilian. And he is saying that those medals are equal and that it's actually better to get the Medal of Freedom because you don't have to get shot up or anything like that to receive it.
I haven't heard nothing about that, and to be honest with you, I don't know. I mean, I'm a retired military veteran, combat veteran, and I've never heard of that, bro. I don't know. I can't even speak on it.
What do you think if you did hear something like that?
I don't know, man. Medals, they come and go in the military.
Wait, you're suggesting that the Medal of Honor comes and goes?
No. I didn't say that. You didn't let me finish.
Okay.
I said there's a lot of medals and ribbons we get that, they're just like gimmies, you know what I mean? Just like, but there's also medals that are deserved and well deserved, you know what I mean? So yeah, the Medal of Honor should definitely be respected.
Okay, well, I know you said you hadn't heard it, so give me a second here and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Great job. But I really, I have to say, Miriam, I watched Sheldon sitting so proud in the White House when we gave Miriam the Presidential Medal of Freedom. That's the highest award you can get as a civilian. It's the equivalent of the Congressional Medal of Honor, but civilian version. It's actually much better because everyone gets the Congressional Medal of Honor. That's soldiers. They're either in very bad shape because they've been hit so many times by bullets or they're dead. She gets it, and she's a healthy, beautiful woman. It's right. And they're rated equal. But she got the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and she got it and that's through committee.
So what do you think? She's not filled with bullets. She's a healthy, beautiful woman. She didn't have to sacrifice her. I'm laughing, of course.
I would disagree with that. I would definitely disagree with that as a war veteran. Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you find it?
One thing about Trump, you got to remember, man, he says some shit that fucking don't make sense sometimes. But the thing about him, man, is he took this country to a level where we were at the top. You know what I mean? That's how I feel. In his 4 years, well, I'll say 3.5 because of COVID. You know what I mean? But he took this country to a place that we have definitely benefited from. So he is who he is. And I just can't see electing a woman as a president when we got World War III on the rise, when other countries don't respect women.
So do you believe a female would be inappropriate to lead this great nation?
Yes, sir, I do.
Elaborate on it. What makes you say that?
Well, for one, I'm a Christian, and the Bible says that a woman should not be put in a leadership position. It's not her role. You know what I mean?
Okay.
For two, like I said, the world doesn't really take too kindly to women being in leadership positions, especially when you're talking about the Middle East, especially Russia.
Wait, hang on a second. I'm sure you've heard of Margaret Thatcher. She led the UK. You've heard of likely Angela Merkel of Germany. Mexico currently has a female.
Yep.
Hey, there's one in New Zealand. I mean, there are some women around the world that has led well-known, well-established nations.
But these aren't powerhouse countries, though.
Germany, the UK,
The UK's, I mean,
the United
man,
Kingdom
I was
is
in the
not a
military for 22
powerhouse.
years, and I'm just gonna say this: UK is not that powerful. I mean, we're the number one when it comes to supremacy. You know what I mean? As far as countries are concerned, we're the ones around the world that are looked up to. You know what I mean?
You don't think people, particularly throughout Europe, look up to the UK? That's the most powerful nation on that continent, is it?
I would not say. Well, on that continent, okay, I can see what you're saying.
Yeah.
On that continent, yeah,
I mean,
you're right.
the UK is a nuclear powered nation. I mean, they're not. Aren't they a superpower?
No, they're not a superpower. They're definitely not a superpower, but we are their allies.
So at the end of the day, though, you do believe that a woman should never lead this country.
I'm not going to say never, but I don't think. Well, I will say never personally, but I think it's going to happen eventually. But I don't think the time is right now.
Okay. What would give me the parameters that would lead you to dictate that now the time is right? What would it take for you to suggest that now the time is right?
Well, for the first for my first thought, I'm thinking that World War III should not be on the list. I mean, we got China and who they with? China and Russia, having missions above Alaska, and reconning us and stuff. I'm just like, look, World War III is just right around the corner. You gotta have someone that's strong in there, bro.
But Valdez, you're saying World War III being around the corner, a woman's not appropriate. You do realize that all the other world wars happened when a man was in power. In fact, all wars, even the Vietnam, the Korea, all of those wars culminated while a man was at the helm. So men don't stop the wars either.
And they were won as well by us when the man was in power.
Well, you think we won the Vietnam War? You think we won in Iraq? What did we win?
Well, the Vietnam War was something different, man. I mean, that was a campaign that I don't think nobody was ever going to win.
But,
my dad was in Vietnam, so I respect him and the effort he gave to it. You know what I mean?
You think we won in Iraq?
You say that again?
You think we won in Iraq? Afghanistan?
Yeah, I was there.
What was the What did we accomplish in Iraq?
We basically infiltrated them and took over the military and took over their country and took over their their political ways of living, and we put in a democracy in place. Now, did it last? No.
Yeah. So what was looking back on Iraq in 2024? Who gained something? Tell me where the gains were made. You're admitting that they went back to anything but democracy that they may have had while we were there. So what are the gains? Where are the victories? I mean, we lost 6,000 plus American soldiers, so a lot of blood and treasure lost. Over 1 million lost in the region. So what do we gain from that?
That's a hard question, bro. But I'm just saying, as an Iraqi veteran, man, I don't want my service to be devalued. You know what I mean?
I'm
gonna stick by what me and my people did over there in Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
It was the government's choice. They sent us over there, and we did what we did. So.
Well, I do appreciate your service, and that's the last thing I would ever want to do is undermine your service. I certainly appreciate that. However, that's what I think that Trump is doing here now, suggesting that even if you won the Medal of Honor, some woman that they got the Medal of Freedom would be the equivalent of that. So you're admitting it's quote unquote crazy shit, but do you find it insulting at all as someone who has served?
I'm not gonna say insulting because when it comes to Trump, he really doesn't know about the military, man. He doesn't know about the medals. He's a businessman, dude. And I like him as a politician because he is a businessman. I think he turned his country around when he was in office for 4 years, except minus COVID. I understand that, but I just really think because man, my business was flourishing. I'm a truck driver. I got 4 trucks, and we were flourishing out of control.
Okay.
I couldn't stop my trucks from moving.
Now I understand the economic benefits that you're touting, but what's baffling to me is you're suggesting that a woman is inappropriate because we might be headed to World War III, but at the same time you're admitting that Trump doesn't even know about the military. He's just all in the business. When you want a commander in chief that was familiar with how the military operates, if he's going to be the commander in chief,
do you think Kamala knows about it? I mean, come on, for real.
Well,
does she know about it?
She hasn't said anything that is this bad yet, has she?
No, but I'm going to say this: most presidents don't really understand the military. They understand their role, what they have to do.
Valdez,
don't understand it.
Valdez, you do realize he's already done 4 years and he's still saying this. He's not a newbie. He's not a rookie. He's already halfway through a double term and he's still saying it.
But he's never been in the military, so he doesn't know. Now his vice president has been, so he'll probably know. J.D. Vance.
Do you really need to? Well, I gotta move it on. But before I do, you mentioned J.D. Vance. It's interesting you mentioned him because he is a Marine veteran. He chimed in on this. I want you to hear. J.D. Vance was questioned in regards to what we're discussing. I want you to hear how he responded, and you can give me your opinion.
Yesterday about what he said about the top military honor, and veterans have pointed out he said that
I don't know what I just did, but it's going in ultra fast speed. Shoot, I don't know. Playback speed is normal. All right, let me try it again.
We'll do one more then.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Senator. I wanted to ask you, Trump has been getting attacked from his comments at the press conference yesterday about what he said about the top military honor, and veterans have pointed out, he said that the civilian presidential honor is better than what wounded veterans have received. And I wondered, what do you say to veterans who think that's demeaning?
Well, look, I was with a group of veterans in Pennsylvania yesterday, and trust me, the veteran community is very, very much behind Donald Trump. So, look, what I would say to people is, look, what President Trump said during a ceremony, and I haven't seen the entire remarks, but my understanding is President Trump said during a ceremony that a person who received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, he was saying some nice things about her. He was saying some complimentary things about her. Donald Trump, I've seen give out a Congressional Medal of Honor. I've seen him give out a number of awards and commendations to military veterans. And of course, I myself am a Marine Corps veteran of the Iraq War. This is a guy who loves our veterans and who honors our veterans. I don't think him complimenting and saying a nice word about a person who received the Presidential Medal of Freedom is in any way denigrating those who received military honors. They're two different awards, and I think the president was saying some nice things about a person that he liked, and that's a totally reasonable thing.
Now, he's saying there's two different awards, but President Trump clearly said they're equal. What say you about this?
I totally understand what he's saying, because, listen, he's a veteran. He knows, if you ain't ever served in the military, you really ain't going to understand what awards mean. You know what I mean? And so, Donald Trump would just speak in, and he really doesn't know because he's never served in the military. He was just trying to give nice words to a woman. And I can agree with J.D. Vance, what he said right there. I can agree with him.
All right, Valdez.
As an Iraqi veteran myself.
All right, we don't necessarily agree, but it doesn't matter. Appreciate you coming through, Valdez. My door is always open to you. Thank you. Thank you for your service. All right, moving on with the program. Thank you. And I see the comments on YouTube. BS is the word no, says system update. By the way, folks, late evening live, certainly smaller numbers on the backup page on TikTok. I appreciate it if you tap that screen. Get the likes up to about 20,000. We can certainly make that happen if your thumbs are not lazy. Same on YouTube. Feel free to smash that like button, top 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Over 500 of you folks here on YouTube. Feel free to smash that like button. It is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. We are free speech. We are MAGA friendly. All day, every day. Liberals are welcome as well. Going back to the box, asking that question. By the way, folks, what did you think of my last caller? Now, he is a combat veteran himself. You heard his opinion. He certainly is MAGA. He supports President Trump, favors his economy. Kind of give him a pass. Wasn't a fan of what Trump said, but he kind of gave him a pass. I want to hear your opinion. Act True Love 9 6. Good evening.
What's up, Handsome Rebel? How you doing?
I'm doing good, just hanging around like Mike Pence on January 6th. So, what do you think about what Trump stated in regards to these two medals?
It don't bother me. It's not going to change my vote.
Right. But do you think it's insulting to the military at all?
Well, I know a lot of military people, and they're not insulted by it.
Okay.
It doesn't bother them. I think it's kind of baked in. I'm not saying that's right, but with the whole Waltz thing and stuff, I think he kind of slipped up when he said it. I think he was trying to attack Waltz, and he probably.
Wait, what are you stating? You said the whole Waltz thing. You think he was trying to attack Waltz? What are you talking about?
When he said what he said, I think he was focusing on Waltz, and he didn't separate. So he was talking about the military. When he was talking about the military, he should have been focused on Waltz, the VP pick for Harris. And so I think he messed up, right? In my opinion.
Okay.
Not going to change my vote.
No, I understand it's not going to change your vote, but I guess the question I want to know is, you have so many folks on the right that are targeting Waltz because he either retired at a lower rank than what he's stating, or he claimed to have carried a rifle while in war. And the right is finding that to be very insulting to the military, but they don't seem to be saying much about this. What say you?
Because the military supports Trump. There was no new wars under Trump. So they know that he's strong. They fear the fact that we're facing 3 world wars right now, and they don't want to go to war. And with Mrs. Harris in office, a lot of them believe that it's a very good chance we will. And I'm not being sexist at all, by no means, anti-liberal, but Putin, Xi, Kim Jong-il, they're going to laugh at her. They're not going to pay attention to her.
Are you suggesting, like my last caller did, that maybe a woman is not the right gender to lead this nation?
At this time, yes.
So at what time, like I'm gonna ask you the same thing I asked him. At what time do you think it's right for a female to be president?
Person that could. I'll give you 2 people that could. Hillary Clinton could have, and so can Tulsi Gabbard.
What? Okay, we know Tulsi Gabbard is a combat veteran, but other than that, what makes you think Tulsi Gabbard is capable?
Because she's a veteran that has a lot of experience, and we were talking about women, right? And Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. Long history of dealing with people. Honestly, Kamala's not been in office long, right? She was a senator for 4 years, right?
Okay.
And then she went straight to VP.
Yes.
Okay, so she don't have much time on the world scene. And
You do realize Barack Obama was only a senator, I believe, what was it, 2 years or so? He was really in there a short time, and he turned out all right, did he not?
well, I voted for Obama. Obama was the best speaker we've ever had, probably since JFK.
Well, he also took out Bin Laden as well.
And he also took out his own American citizens.
Wait. Okay, we know he droned one American that deliberately flew overseas to fight on behalf of the enemy. Is that who you're referencing?
There was 2 people.
Okay.
My dad and the son, and regardless, I don't care if, regardless, as a U.S. citizen, you have due process.
Wait a minute. You're saying that if I go over to the Middle East, join our enemy, and pledge allegiance to ISIS, I'm still entitled to due process. How the hell are you going to give it to me while I'm on Middle Eastern soil?
I understand where you're coming from, but under the Constitution, you have due process.
So, in other words, if Obama had taken your advice, did not drone and take the life of this traitor, essentially, and that individual went on to kill some American soldiers, are you suggesting that the right would not criticize him at all for letting the guy get away?
I'm not suggesting that because that would just be ludicrous. I'm just giving you my opinion.
Right.
I believe in due process.
And what would your opinion be if you knew he had this individual in the crosshairs, let him get away claiming due process, and that guy went on to kill up a bunch of soldiers? What would your opinion be?
I don't know. That's a good question because I feel like the Secret Service had Pew Pure on the Trump thing, and they blew it. So I mean, I kind of see what you're saying.
Yeah, you can't leave soldiers in danger because somebody has due process. Hell, they won't even give you due process in America if you're threatening other Americans' lives. They'll kill you on the spot.
Yeah, but a drone attack versus sending in soldiers is two different things.
So, you want to give this person that went overseas to pledge allegiance to ISIS, and they're trying to murder all these Americans. You're going to give them due process. You're going to put other Americans at risk and everything when you can just drone the hell out of them. Is that what you're suggesting?
Was you in the Army or was you in service?
No, sir.
Okay, so you have to have orders to take the shot, right? Or take the shot.
Not as president. Not as president.
Not as president. You are correct. So I would have rather seen the team on the ground, and they could have took him into custody, and he could face trial for his for what he did.
Yeah, but once again, I'm going to go back to the same statement. If he took your advice as opposed to droning the guy, put a team on the ground to go grab the guy and arrest him, and members of that team got lost in combat, how do you think the right is going to respond knowing that he had the ability to drone him without putting any of the team at risk? How do you think the right would respond to Obama doing that?
They probably would have been bad because both sides can't get along.
Yeah.
But the fact is that you got to follow the law, and Obama broke the law.
I don't think that is true. I don't believe he broke the law. If you're an enemy of the United States, if you lead a country and you pledge allegiance to the enemy and you're fighting on behalf of that enemy, I don't believe you're entitled to all of the things you're stating.
And maybe I could be wrong, but I looked a lot into it, and I really feel like that, for example, when Trump got his immunity, Obama could have been in the same situation as Trump was. And so that's why immunity matters so much.
Well, I'm fine with giving them immunity in some cases. What I don't like what the Supreme Court did is they didn't define what immunity is. But let me ask you this question in regards to what we're discussing. If Trump was in the position of Obama that you're talking about, where he had the ability to take out an American that went overseas and pledged allegiance to ISIS and was trying to kill Americans, what do you think Trump would do?
I hope he followed the law.
That ain't what I asked you. What do you think he would do?
Well, Trump took out ISIS, so, I mean, he would have probably done the same thing.
And how would MAGA feel about it?
I'm not MAGA.
That ain't what I'm asking you, though.
I know I didn't say it.
Yeah.
So, how would they feel about it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't know.
Let me rephrase that.
They were going to take out the vice president, and he was okay with that. You don't know.
No, let me rephrase that.
Okay. Take your time. Take your time.
Each side, no matter what the other side does, is going to approve of it. That's just the way it is.
Okay. You know you're lighting up my audience on both platforms. They're swearing up and down, you are MAGA.
I'm a constitutionalist republic.
Okay. Are you supporting Trump?
Absolutely.
Okay. But you're not MAGA.
What's MAGA?
A Trump supporter, committed Trump supporter, make America great. You don't know what MAGA is in 2024?
I know what the term is, but I'm a conservative constitutional Republican. I don't have to be a part of any group. I'm not on the Harris side of the campaign having white dudes for Harris, having comments for Harris, having LGBTQ for Harris. I don't need that. I don't have to pick a group to vote.
All right.
Is that fair?
Fair enough. Who'd you vote for in 2020?
I voted for Trump at 16. I'll give you all my votes. Clinton, Obama, Trump.
All right. Who won the election in 2020?
Biden.
Okay, what happened on January 6th?
It was a riot.
Any idea how that started?
You had a few bad apples.
Okay, do you believe Trump is responsible in any way, shape, fashion, or form?
Nope.
Okay, fair enough. And you're not MAGA, all right? Just wanted to get your, I do got to move it on, though. You're always welcome through the program, though. Come on back anytime.
Thanks for bringing me up, brother.
Anytime. It's been a pleasure. Moving on with the program, and thank you. Real quick for the super chat on YouTube, Josh, thank you. He's Hicks for Trump, though. I've never heard someone refer to it that way. Hicks for Trump. Yikes. He means were escorted into the Capitol, January. Yeah. I've heard many say that the folks were escorted into the Capitol on January 6th. There is video footage of some folks being peacefully let in, but at the end of the day, I think we all know that it wasn't a peaceful entry into the Capitol building. It just wasn't. I mean, we could go into it in detail, but it wasn't a peaceful entry. But there is footage, like with QAnon, Shaman. He didn't break in; he was let in. But there's a reason behind it. Looking in the comments, Trump doesn't respect service members. What did that say? He said some crazy shit again today about them. Really? Elaborate in the comment. What else did he say about the service? Wow, this guy just seems to keep finding interesting things to say. He's going to be providing content for the foreseeable future, if you ask me. I want to address another super chat in the comments. Thank you, Krista, for Crystal. Wow, I'm having a Biden moment. Crystal Lopez, appreciate you supporting the program, says Obama droned U.S. citizens. Anwar al-Kawi, you really tested my Middle Eastern pronunciation here. Samir Khan and 16-year-old wow, you're I cannot pronounce these names. Abdurrahman I'm gonna leave it on, but he droned someone in Yemen. We are not at war with Yemen. The ACLU filed a lawsuit. A 16-year-old was droned by the Obama administration in Yemen. Now, true, we're not at war with Yemen. However, we did go to the nation of Yemen and perform strikes on terrorist sympathizers there. America has been in Yemen, even if it's only from the air. We have been in Yemen, and not in just the reference that you're making here. We have been in Yemen. Right is right. Thank you for that that super chat there. Appreciate you folks supporting the program. By the way, tap the screen on TikTok. Small audience, late hour. I appreciate you first, so you can be anywhere you want to be this late hour. It's an honor having you here with me. Get the likes up to about 30,000. That might be a bit to ask with the smaller audience we have here, but let your thumbs not be lazy. Tap the screen, get the likes up. Same on YouTube. Certainly plenty of you folks here on YouTube, smash that like button as well. Going back to the box, Frank Nitty, want to go to one of my subscribers there. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Because it's past my bedtime. Takesha, what are you doing up? Seeing you in the comments there. Already got Kevin J. Good evening.
Good evening. How you doing?
I'm doing good. So I take it you've been listening in.
Yes.
What am I getting wrong?
Yes.
What am I getting wrong?
What are you getting wrong? I
Yeah.
don't think you're getting anything wrong. I think the last few guys you've had in there are a little off the rocker.
Well, we had a veteran that doesn't think, okay, Trump is comparing the Medal of Freedom and the Medal of Honor and saying they're equal. What's your opinion?
I completely disagree with it. I'm not military,
Same.
I believe in respecting anyone and everyone that's put on the uniform. Some of my favorite stuff I've been hearing this last week with the JD Vance is Jesse Ventura and Tim Walz saying we're not going to disparage his service and we're not going to attack it.
Yep.
Because that's how I think it should be. No veteran should attack another veteran's service, no matter what it was.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to get into the military when I was at that age. I regret it, and wish I could. And so the only thing I can do is just say thank you and respect every single one of them.
Yeah. And I did see that clip of Jesse Ventura saying exactly that, and I think some members that actually served with Tim Walz are saying the same thing, that look, he served honorably and what they're doing to the guy is awful. But it's crazy that they're doing this to Tim Walz, but then Trump makes a statement like this, and they're kind of giving him a pass. It sounds like.
You know, when you were talking to that veteran a couple guests ago, the thing that I've been thinking about lately, and I heard somebody mention this, you know, you call this guy a great leader, but you're constantly having to explain what he meant. You know, what kind of a leader has to have an explanation? Because no, I know he said that, but stop using his words because this is what he meant. You know, that's not a leader.
Well, I would certainly agree that it's confusing at the very least. One of the reasons why we allegedly elected Trump is because he shoots from the cuff. He calls it as he sees it. He calls a spade. But yet, as you're pointing out, every time he says something, folks are saying, "Well, he didn't mean that. He meant it was a joke. You're taking that out of context." And it's like, I thought he was a clear speaker, and I'm kind of baffled by it myself.
Yeah, you know, and the thing that's bugging me right now is, I mean, I'm glad you brought up Margaret Thatcher and Angela Merkel and, you know, other females, you know, this idea that a woman won't be respected. You know, it's been widely reported that Putin and Kim Jong and Xi Jinping refer to Trump as a useful idiot.
Yeah.
You know, they don't respect him. He is exactly what they're saying, a useful idiot. And here's the funny one, too. I don't know if you noticed, but I feel like Putin doesn't feel like Trump's going to get anywhere with this. He let that reporter go. You know, the one that Trump promised would be released right after Election Day, but before he took office.
Yeah.
You know, and we did the exchange, and now, of course, it was a bad exchange. Everybody wanted the reporter back, but now it's a bad exchange because Biden's administration worked it out. You know, and it's just constantly, I don't know, it's they took the red pill, they drank the Kool-Aid.
Wow.
You know.
Well, let me make something clear. Let me just say something for a lot of folks who always say that, like when they brought Brittany Griner home, that was also a bad exchange. Fact is, any prisoner swap we engage in with nations like Russia is always going to be a bad exchange because we don't capture people for little things like they capture our citizens for. So if we want to trade equal for equal, we don't have anybody in our custody that has committed a crime as low as Brittany Griner. The only way you're going to get her back is to trade somebody that's done something significantly worse because America's not going to capture somebody. For like right now, they have a guy over there that is due to serve some time for, there's an American female that donated $50 to some type of organization that is affiliated with the Ukraine. And they're going to give her like 2 or 3 years in prison. We don't arrest people for something that minor. So there's no way you can get her back without giving somebody that is far more dangerous in return.
I agree 100%, you know, and I don't know. It's I'm enjoying right now just looking and watching how everything's going and everything's turning over. I don't know if you watched, my dad called me the other day. I guess Anthony Scaramucci did
I saw clips of that.
Right.
Well, he's no fan of Trump, though.
Right, and so it made me think. Well, he's no fan of Trump, but I was trying to remember. He went on Bill Maher years ago, you know, and he went on a couple other things, and he made predictions of things that Trump was going to do or say while he was in office. And I don't remember what they were, but I just remember going, wow, he called it. He called it, you know, and now he's saying that at some point Trump is going to realize he's not going to win. His 3 motivators are staying out of prison, making money, and getting retribution. Those are his motivators. You know,
all of those are frightening, particularly the getting retribution one is the biggest concern to me because I do believe that could lead to civil unrest if he becomes president and he's suddenly going after a bunch of highly respected people.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm 100% in agreement with that. You know, it's a scary scenario, and it drives me nuts when I hear people say he cares about regular Americans and he wants to, you know, he cares about us and wants to do da-da-da-da-da. You know, none of them are saying when it comes to immigration that our immigration and the crisis at the border has continued to go down and down and down for the last 4 months since Biden did his executive order. Yeah. You know, and nobody wants to acknowledge that Biden attempted to do it the right way through legislation, Okay, so it can't be overturned by a court, which it's going to be.
Yeah.
You know, and well, why didn't he do it sooner? Because he tried to do it right. He tried to do it right, and he had that bipartisan bill. It was there. It was going.
I don't know if here's my issue. That bipartisan bill comes 3 years into Biden's term, and it certainly looks a lot like he only came up with that because the election was coming. I do believe he should have came up with something like that a little bit earlier on. It would have looked more authentic.
That wasn't Biden that came up with that. That was James Langford from Oklahoma that spearheaded that, and that's because Mike Johnson said, we're not going to discuss the budget until we discuss this. We're not going to discuss money to Ukraine until we discuss the border. So Langford took that as, hey, let's do this. Democrats are finally on board because we got them over the barrel on the budget thing. And that's what they put together. And Biden said he'd absolutely sign it. If it was bipartisan and it was agreed upon by both parties, he would absolutely sign it. And then Trump said, you can't have that win. It's not that he waited 3 years. He waited for Congress and the Senate to do something because it's their job to do it.
Well, I do know that Kamala was on record earlier in the term saying that there was no major issue at the border. She actually said that.
Yes. And I don't know how
Put that up.
I can't really explain that away other than to say that was bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Thank you.
And hey, touche. Kamala lied. Let's mark 1 for her and 30,000 for Trump, and I guess we're even. You know,
30,000. You think he's been that? Well, you know, didn't CNN or somebody do a count?
They did.
Yeah, 30,000. Wow.
They did. You know, and in his press conference, they counted 157 or something like that. False or misleading claims in just his press conference from Mar-a-Lago.
Damn.
You know, yeah. I mean, it's quite insane. When he did slip the truth out in, I think it was in Montana, at that last rally in Montana, when he started going, why did I debate him? If I didn't debate him in June, they'd still be singing his praises, and we'd be going up against Joe and da-da-da-da-da, and they were cruising to victory, and he's absolutely right. It was the biggest mistake debating in June before anybody. You know something.
I think a lot of folks are glad they debated because that gave people what they've been asking for all along, is for Biden to step down. I think that had that debate not happened, Biden would still be in the race and would probably be losing.
You were absolutely right. The way I think it went down was Trump threw out the challenge to make Biden look like a wimp, because there's no way Biden's going to break decorum and have the earliest debate in a presidential election that never has had before, right? They always happen in September and October. Nobody's going to say yes in June. And I think Biden's people, the ones that have been in the rooms with him, going, let's get him to say yes to this so we can see. Is he going to show up as State of the Union Joe, or is he going to show up as basically stroked out on national television like he did Joe? But this gives us the opportunity to come up with a plan B if that happens, which is exactly what happened, which is what we saw.
Yeah, some people are thinking that was all done deliberately to lead to the Republicans to exhaust themselves at the RNC chasing Biden when they knew, when the Democrats were planning on switcherooing Biden out. Some people say it was done intentionally.
Now, I'm going to say something that's probably controversial with a lot of those people. I think that Biden knew, and Biden had made that decision before the RNC and before Trump got shot. I think he knew he was going to check out. He was waiting until after the RNC to steal that thunder. I really believe it, because, yeah, he can't speak well, and he's having his issues, but I got to believe the man, he still gives his speeches and whatnot. He's still got some thought up there. He just has trouble getting it out. And he is a politician for over 5 decades.
Yeah.
You know, so he knows how to strategize this stuff. That's why, I believe that when he put out his statement that he was withdrawing from the race but didn't mention Kamala, because he knew that Nancy and Barack Obama and the others probably didn't really want Kamala. But then that was his little fuck you to them. They were pressuring him. He was succumbing. So his little F you to them is fine. I'm gonna get her, and I'm gonna endorse her in a completely separate thing. 20 minutes later, or whatever it was. Yeah, I think that he still has that strategy in him. He's just slower now.
Well, I will say, if somehow, some way Kamala ends up winning it, and he reveals that that was his strategy, he will likely go down in history as a Democratic hero if what you're saying is true.
In my opinion, he is, because he did step away from something, pressured or not. It was still his decision to make. They all recognize that, and he chose to make that decision. He literally walked away from the most powerful job. Now, you can say in his mind he thought he could still win. Well, I don't think he could have won.
No,
I really don't. You know, but on the outside looking in, it's easy to say that. But when it's you standing in that position, no, I can beat this guy. There's no way. Have you heard him? Have you listened to his gibberish? Have you heard all the lies that come out of his mouth? Have you seen how he did in his 4 years? You know, all these things that are so obvious to that man. There's no way that he could lose in his own mind. But now he's got to stand and listen to everybody else, and they're all telling him otherwise. And so now he has to make the decision and to put country before himself and his own belief in himself. I think that's huge. That's a hard decision. It's a courageous decision, and he deserves a lot of respect for it.
All right.
You know?
Fair enough, Kevin. I appreciate it. I do have to move on. Thanks for coming through. Good talk. All right, moving.
Have a good night.
You're welcome. Moving on with the program. Saturday Night Live is going to miss Trump. Well, Shane Deasy, I don't believe Trump's going anywhere. Even if Trump loses, now he could win. He could very well be our next president again. But even if Trump loses, I don't expect Trump to go silent or ride off into the night like a George W. Bush and go start painting and shit. Like, no, Trump is going to be involved in politics for the rest of his life. Now, also, too, keep in mind, if Trump loses, I see people putting in the comments exactly what I'm about to allude to, the criminal justice system. If Trump loses, he has to continue fighting those cases, probably for a large portion of the remainder of his life. I mean, the guy's 78 years old now. I mean, yeah, he might live to be 90, but I don't see him as being another Betty White. So he's going to be in the news for the rest of his life. I would assume Trump, even if he ends up in jail, he'll be writing memoirs and probably taking phone calls and getting messages out. You will hear from Trump forever. I don't think the guy's going away. I don't think that the election is going to be the end of Trump. A lot of power. Trump has a lot of power. Even if he ends up losing, even if he ends up behind bars, I mean, what are they suggesting right now when it comes to the right side of the aisle? About 30% or so of the right are hardcore, dedicated MAGA that are going nowhere, loyalists. Now, a lot of other Republicans that are not MAGA loyalists are going to still vote for Trump because he has the same principles. But even 30% of the Republican Party that's millions of people. That's millions of people. They're not going to leave his side if he gets incarcerated and loses the election. They'll still be there. So there's plenty of room for Trump to still operate, even if he loses in the election and even if he ends up incarcerated. I mean, his fan base is still millions of people. People would want to come visit him. People will want to call him, write letters to him, talk to him. He'll still have a significant amount of influence. And in some political circles, he'll still be able to control some races, like some of the political races. Like in far right segments of our population, his opinion will still probably be important for quite a while. So, yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere. Repair and Support says your callers are always unintelligent. Damn. Usually they say that about me. Appreciate the support, appreciate the super chat. I don't believe my callers are always unintelligent, Repair and Support. We get a lot of folks that are of all varieties of the political spectrum. You're not going to agree with everybody, but I don't believe they're unintelligent. I think that you may have a difference of opinion with them. Someone stated that, what did he say? You're reaching. I thought I saw that. Thank you folks that are actually following the program. By the way, if you enjoy civilized dialogue from all sides of the aisle, without any concern of the host trying to block, ban, or censor you, you are in the right place. I'd ask that you follow the program on TikTok, a subscription on YouTube, if you will. This is free speech. That's what it's all about. You'll hear folks from all sides of the aisle without any concern of being blocked, banned, or censored. Last but not least, we are MAGA friendly. We don't block, ban, or censor anywhere. We believe in free speech. MAGA has the right to free speech. MAGA is the preferred guest, but you'll hear liberals on the program as well. Real quick, responding to a super chat, Tim won't say who he is voting for, but I know it's Harris because he isn't insane, says Joe Shalom. You know, I had somebody swear up and down earlier in the program I was voting for Trump. I get folks to tell me, both sides. One side, I'm a socialist, I'm a libtard, trying to destroy America. The other side suggests that I'm an Uncle Tom, an Uncle Ruckus, a sellout, has completely lost my black card and is no longer welcome in the hood. I get it. This is what happens when you're in the middle and you entertain free speech. You become a piece of shit to everybody. Everybody. Because you're not taking a side with conviction. I don't believe everything about MAGA or Trump is bad. I don't believe everything about the Democrats or liberals is good. I see some good and some bad on both sides of the aisle, and I tend to call it out, but that does put me in an interesting area referred to as no man's land. Ed G. Ed is up kind of late. Appreciate it, Ed. Glad I own stocks. Kamala's inflation would only help the rich or people with stocks, just like Biden's Bidenomics didn't help me, but did balloon my net worth. Ed, I think if you're rich, you're going to benefit no matter who's in office. I mean, fact is, lobbyists exist on both sides of the aisle. And the rich are going to find a way. Remember what Trump said? Here's something that Trump said that always resonates, at least with me and many other folks, is when he came down the escalator, one thing he said is, I know politics because I know how both sides work, because I've donated money to both campaigns to get done what I need to get done. Trump is a rich guy, and he's making it clear he was buying off both sides. So, yeah, I don't believe the rich is going to suffer no matter who's in office. Now, in my opinion, if you're rich, I think there are plenty of avenues where Trump is probably the better pick. I just do believe that Trump would be a better pick. Certainly if you own a business, if you have employees and you don't want to be forced to give your employees a minimum wage increase or let them unionize, or you be forced to give them health care, Trump is a far better pick in that area. So I do believe for the wealthy, Trump has some slight advantages. Repair and support. Tim is voting for Trump. He is not stupid. I'm going to plead the fifth while I still have that constitutional right. Let me go back to the box and tap the screen. Like I said, very slow live on TikTok. I don't know if they're playing games with the algorithm or what, but tap the screen. We'll see if we can get the likes up to 40,000. It's one of the smallest audiences I've had in here on TikTok. YouTube, just fine, but TikTok's a small audience. Donald J. Trump knows Dems are way harder for him to con. Not impossible, but way harder. That's an interesting take on that. Frank Nitty, good evening. Welcome to the program, Frank Nitty. Good afternoon. Good evening. Okay, Nitty came and Nitty went. All right, we'll keep it moving. He thinks feelings are more important than facts. And I see Captain Chronic 420. We all know what that is, respectively. Captain Chronic 420 says Tim will never vote for Trump. He thinks feelings are more important than facts. No, I think both of them have some relevance to it. First of all, I don't believe in voting based on feelings. I don't vote based on feelings, but I do vote based on idiocy. Idiotic, because a lot of folks say, well, if you're voting because you don't like Trump's tweets, you're emotional, you're in your feelings or whatever. Let me make something clear. If you're doing things to piss off President Trump, he's not going to vote for your ass either. So the idea that if Trump is saying things that are pissing you off, you should focus on policy and not what he is saying, he wouldn't do that. If you insulted Trump, I don't give a damn how effective you are as a leader, you're dead to him. He wouldn't do that. So I just find it interesting people say that, well, The tweet shouldn't matter. Pay attention to his policies, and don't let the word. Trump doesn't even operate in that manner. Repair and support. Listen, no matter who you vote for, I like and respect you. Just saying, shout out to you, repair and support. At the end of the day, when I say free speech, damn it, I mean it. You don't have to agree with the host. You don't have to agree with anyone in the comment section either. That's how free speech works. I believe everyone should have their right to free speech, and as long as I can preserve that here, absent of the TikTok gods, sometimes they can be a little bit heavy on censorship, but we make it work here. We go left of Bernie Sanders from having dinner with QAnon. Everybody gets to speak. You'll hear that on the program. Continuing on with the program, Keith says we're doomed either way. Wow, that's dark, Keith. That is really dark. I hope you are wrong with that. Mama C, well, she was there. Oh, there we go. Ask Mama C, I believe that is. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Are you there?
Hi, darling. I'm so glad you mentioned this was your backup channel because I'm sitting here going, wait, he's doing a live? Where is my notification? Hold on. So how are you this evening?
I'm doing good. Yeah, sometimes when they play games on the main page, we come here. So feel free to follow this side of the aisle because this is where we'll be for the next couple of days, I think, while they're playing.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So we're asking the question, though. Well, President Trump compared the Medal of Honor to the Medal of Freedom. Are you aware of this?
Yes, he said that the Civilian Medal of Honor, known as the Freedom Medal, and the Medal of Honor for Service being the highest for both, that they were equal to each other as a way to explain that, they're highest for both, for each.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do, because you have to, in order to explain it to other people, in order to, make sure that everybody understands something, when you are in service, the highest medal that you can receive is the Medal of Honor. When you are a civilian and you are not in service, the highest medal you can receive is the Freedom Medal. I don't see anything wrong with what he said. I don't understand why the blow up of the correlation. I do not understand why, and this is coming from someone who's had 30 years of military family, military spouse, and the whole 9 yards being steeped in this culture. I don't get why this is an issue for people to understand. If you are out of uniform, the highest you can achieve is the Freedom Medal. If you are in uniform, the highest you can achieve is the Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
Why are we arguing what would be a fact in a textbook?
Well, the argument is because the Medal of Honor generally comes by way of sacrifice. Sacrifice for the good of your country. The Medal of Freedom can be just because the president likes you. For instance, Trump gave the Medal of Freedom to Rush Limbaugh. I mean, like that. Rush Limbaugh didn't make any sacrifice. Yeah, he gave a medal. Yeah, he gave a Medal of Freedom to Rush Limbaugh. So the idea that they're equal, I don't see where you're getting that from.
He's just simply saying and again, just a fact thing. If you're a civilian, this is going to be the highest one you can achieve. If you're of service, this is the one you're going to be the highest to achieve. Like, that's literally it. And again, while your chat is blowing up and calling me a liar and calling me all the things that they're calling me, as always, that's literally it. What he also said was that he hates having to give out the Medal of Honor as opposed to the Freedom Medal, right? Since 2002, since the Afghan war started, since the fall of 9/11 towers, there have been 37 combat Medal of Honor recipients over 20 years. More than half were after death, posthumously.
Right.
Yes. You ask anybody if they would rather their father or that medal.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, of course, he doesn't like giving. No president likes giving out that award.
I understand. I understand you don't like having to posthumously give someone a medal, but where you and I disagree is suggesting that the Medal of Freedom simply because it's the highest award you can give to a civilian is somehow equal to the highest award you can give to a military person. Because like I said, you don't get the Medal of Honor unless you made some serious sacrifices and did some really heroic shit. But you can get the hold on. You don't get the Medal of Honor unless you've done some really heroic shit and made some serious sacrifices. You might be dead. You can get the Medal of Freedom just because you gave the president a few extra bucks.
Right. So that's the other thing, and that's the part where I think people are starting to blur lines, is that the Medal of Honor is of service, of sacrifice, like you said, whereas the civilian medal is of no consequence, right? So the reason I was trying, and I'm on a lag, I'm on a bad connection. I am so sorry, And
it happens.
Keisha always coming after me. It's great.
She will too.
It's all of them, trust me. But yeah, so in that kind of a sense, of course, I would rather my mom be given, the Freedom Medal rather than my dad or my husband getting the Medal of Honor, because I don't want them coming back less than physically. I don't want them, having to receive this for dying in action. I would rather my spouse with me. Right?
I don't disagree with that. I think the issue is he should never have compared the two. They shouldn't be in the same sentence with each other.
I think the issue is that people are making mountain and molehills all the time, and your chat always blows up with talking about, oh, here they go, bailing out Trump and telling him what to think. What the heck has the administration been doing covering for Biden, Kamala's word salads, the Alzheimer's, dementia, whatever slur speech? It's the same damn thing. Everybody's going to whip it up how they want to whip it up. I'm just sitting here spitting facts.
Well, I will say, if it pleases MAGA, we certainly covered the notion that Tim Walz lied about his military service. We did a whole live on it. We did, and we let MAGA speak, and MAGA found him to be wrong for doing that, and they're certainly having a different opinion when it comes to Trump, though.
I think that, like I said on that live to you too, I think that it is wrong that people are quick to discredit the 24 years that Waltz gave. I'm grateful for his service. I'm grateful for his time. What we have the issue with is when he lied about his rank and lied about being combat tested, right? He used those lies, however monotonous some people might want to put that, to the brothers and sisters of the troop that he left behind, and when he retired, that was a huge slap in the face to them, and it's a huge slap in the face to a lot of veterans. Now, your previous person, Mr. Keith, this is where he and I differ, was the fact that you can't make a statement like veterans shouldn't be ruling out veterans. That's a very equivalent to cops shouldn't rat on cops, right? If you start thinking like that, and that the brotherhoods are more important.
No, wait, hold on. They're not ratting on Tim Walz. They're just criticizing him. Now, if he lied about his service and nobody knew and somebody came out and told, that's ratting on him. And I understand, I agree with your point. But they're not ratting on Tim Walz. They're just putting him down.
Well, to an effect, they kind of are, because how many people in Minnesota actually knew about these differences? How many seats did he win by making that a part of his political platform? So when you come out of one singular state and you're going into 50, yeah, okay, the other 49 may not have known about this guy until the announcement and until they saw the vetting process. But the other people who had him in the House, in the Congress, and for governor, they knew this guy. They were voting for this guy, and these were, pieces that matter to a person's history that were either way blown out of proportion or misspoken consistently for 15 years.
We'll just agree to disagree on that. I want to bring it.
That's fine.
And that happens. That's
what it does.
Fair enough. And last but not least, once again, President Trump is promising to give police immunity from prosecution. Just did it again yesterday at a rally in Bedminster, New Jersey. What say you?
Oh, I didn't see the New Jersey rally, but you and I have talked about that, and I've said, for the nuisance stuff, if it gets proven to be a nuisance, I don't think anybody wearing a uniform, frontline, first responder type of thing, that shouldn't be in their jacket, right? They shouldn't be penalized because somebody wanted to, make their bag on, putting against,
right.
Putting a bag account on it. I didn't see the New Jersey, so no.
It's the one I played you is just more of the same of that. He's talking about doing it.
And you and I have agreed continuously about the fact that scales need to be given, and they need to be talked on scales, because not everything in this world is black and white. There has to be a give and take to both sides of the aisle. Otherwise, unity is never going to happen. So, I mean, am I pro-Trump? No. But am I scared to death of Kamala? Yeah.
Are you among some of my former callers that suggest that a woman is not the right choice to run this country?
No, I think that's too broad. I think Kamala is the wrong woman to do it. I think if Susan Rice had been Biden's choice for VP, she would have been able to gain a lot more knowledge, and she would have been able to use her position a lot better to make those ties. I think even going back into Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, another strong black woman, she would have had she would have put them in their spot. She knew how to handle it, right? Kamala's focus with her foreign policies is not only the fact that she doesn't seem to really have any, but she was so focused on very specific, like almost just very specific cases here domestically that she didn't have enough time to put together a good national, foreign advisory board. She didn't have time to put together the right people to talk to, the right advisors to learn while she had the job. I mean, because what is this that we talked about the other night? This is what, day 1320? And I mean, in that time, she still hasn't really given a whole lot of thought to, foreign policy in general. Right? So, I mean, it's just like, at least secretaries of state, people who held positions, even Tulsi Gabbard, she was a...
What about Hillary Clinton?
Hillary Clinton, to me, would have been a hard sell, simply because at that time there was a whole bunch of collusion. Did she or did she not take the emails, BS? But I think even she would have been a better candidate than Kamala when it comes to foreign policies.
All right. So at the end of the day, it's Kamala you have an issue with, but you do believe a woman is capable of leading this country.
Oh, absolutely. Women are capable. Will they have it harder in certain areas? Of course. A woman going to the Middle East, any American going to the Middle East is hard enough, but a woman who is especially, on the left side of progressiveness and all of that, where Kamala is, they're going to look at her and they just won't. That's the thing. They won't bring anything to the table if she's the head of it. Now, you can talk about the other 180 countries, on this great planet we all share, and I don't think they'd have a problem dealing with her.
All right.
But does she have the knowledge to do it correctly? Does she have the knowledge to do it well?
Well, we got about 80 days remaining, Mama C. We'll see. I think you might actually have a real chance of seeing Kamala as your next commander-in-chief. It is certainly...
Oh, she's going to be the next president. Don't get me wrong. Y'all, the Democrats are going to force the 25th on Biden to make sure that the history happens. They're going to invoke it, and they're going to run her as the incumbent. I have no doubt of that happening.
What do you mean, force the 25th? They're going to get rid of Biden?
Oh, yeah. I think they're going to try to, because she's losing steam in California, right? So California is a big hit against the Democrats right now. She's having to appeal being able to be on the ballot. You have California senator going from the Democratic Party to the Republican. California is on the biggest verge of turning red than we've seen in how long? So, I mean...
Wait. You believe California between now and election day is on the verge of going red?
Yeah, you guys lost a senator to the red, and she's rerunning, and she's going to win that. You have so many people who are just against Newsom, but more importantly than that, like I said, Kamala's not on the ballot. She has to be a write-in right now. Right, so they're trying to bring that case up to the state attorney general, so that way they can argue it before the Supreme Court in order to ensure that she is on the ballot. But right now she's not. She's not eligible to be. But if she is able to say that she is the incumbent seat, as in if the 25th gets invoked and she is the sitting president, then that null and voids everything, and she is officially on the ballot.
All right, California going red. That's the news of the evening, and I see in the comments the home of Laugh and Truth says California is red now. Trump is up by 4.5 points. I haven't heard of any of this. I got to move it on. Now I got homework though. Thank you for coming through.
Oh yeah, always, honey. Y'all have a great night.
Absolutely, you too. California going red. Really? I've heard it all now. By election day, in the next 80 days, California going red. Wow, that would be a shock. That would right under Gavin Newsom's nose. That would be a shock. Harris made 17 foreign trips in 3.5 years. All right, and somebody says put the tinfoil hat back on. Nevada is red now by 9 points. I know Nevada is leaning towards Trump, but I don't believe Trump has a 9-point lead in Nevada. I don't think Trump has a 9-point lead in any swing state. Nevada, Arizona, Michigan, all of the Great Lakes states, Michigan, Ohio. Well, Ohio's red. What else is over there? Wisconsin. I don't think Trump has a 9-point lead in any swing state. Georgia, 9 points? It's in the bag. If you got a 9-point lead, it's over with. Looking in the comments, the rural areas of California is red, but they don't have the votes. That's the impression I have, is that most of the rural areas of every state are red. Even Illinois and New York, you get out and you get away from the big towns, they're all red, but the people, the population in those states are blue. Real quick, I want to respond to a couple super chats here before we go back to the box. Please watch the Hutchins Forum. Great points. Thank you for giving all sides equal voice. The Hutchins. I'm gonna write it down because I do often follow up with you folks, particularly my super chats. The Hutchins Forum. Is that what that said? Let me make sure I bring it back up. The Hutchins Forum. I'm curious. I'll look and see what I can skim across and find out. And thank you for the super chat there. Junebug Lynn 721. North California and Central Cal is red. Only the Bay Area and Los Angeles are blue. Once population grows in North Carolina, we'll be red again. I don't know if the population in North California, not Carolina, but Northern California, I don't know if that population will ever grow to the point of superseding the Bay Area, meaning San Francisco and Oakland and San Jose and all of that stuff, and Southern California. Probably going from Bakersfield all the way down to San Diego. I don't think California is going to go red anytime soon. But like I said, I could be wrong. Reagan was the governor of California before he became president, so it clearly has been Republican before. Takesha Bowie.
Handsome.
Hey.
I'm about to throw some no-dos on your lap for these people that keep dozing off and dreaming that California finna turn red and that Trump is up in California. They gotta be drifting off and falling asleep and dreaming it and just sleep talking while they sleepwalking. Now listen, this is what I wanted to say for real. The guy way back, the veteran who said, well, that's Trump. He gonna say what he want to say.
Yeah.
He made an incorrect statement. I've been itching to get up here and correct him. You remember when he said he was a Christian?
Yes.
And the Bible says that a woman cannot live.
Yes. I wrote it down
That
even.
is absolutely not true. When the Lord says that a man is the head of the woman, he was talking about the order of the Christian family. It has nothing to do with government, because you had women queens who were over territories in the Bible, so that made her a leader. Okay?
Okay.
So I wanted to correct that point. And I want them to stop making an excuse for what Donald Trump said.
That ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen.
They rearranged his whole word. They rearranged it. And now they saying that he was just trying to make them two of you. He trying to say that the Medal of Freedom is the highest that a civilian can get, and the Medal of Honor is the highest that a soldier can get. Stop it.
But wait a minute, Takesha, that is true. The Medal of Freedom is the highest medal.
That was not what he was doing, handsome.
Okay, well,
stop it.
All right, wait a minute. let's take a quick break. We'll play what he said once
Please
again,
do.
and we'll talk about it on the other side. It's only a few seconds long or so. Whenever I get my audio right. Hang on a second.
Please play it for me.
She's turning out to be one of the greatest business women of the world. You're doing a great job. But I really, I have to say, Miriam, I watched Sheldon sitting so proud in the White House when we gave Miriam the Presidential Medal of Freedom. That's the highest award you can get as a civilian. It's the equivalent of the Congressional Medal of Honor, but civilian version. It's actually much better because everyone gets the Congressional Medal of Honor. That's soldiers. They're either in very bad shape because they've been hit so many times by bullets, or they're dead. She gets it, and she's a healthy, beautiful woman. It's right.
Okay.
Did he not say it was much better?
He said they're equal too, though.
But did he not say actually it's much
Well, he said it's much better because your ass is still alive.
Okay, but that doesn't make it much better. When someone went in, sacrificed their life, sacrificed leaving their family behind with no dad, no mom, who gives a damn about you giving a Medal of Freedom to somebody who probably ain't eating and bought you a bag of Doritos at a grocery store when you was short 50 cents?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I'm not going to make excuses for him. I think it's insulting to veterans and people who have served, certainly people who have received the Medal of Honor, to tell them that their loved one that did whatever they did for this country to get that medal and they're no longer around, that this woman that is walking around looking pretty, as he says, her medal is equal to theirs. Yeah, I think that's
That
insulting.
was a slap in the face. Let me
Yeah.
say this, Tim. These are the same people who got mad at Biden because he looked at his watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all mad at this man for looking at his watch, but everything Trump says is just all right. And then what kills me, I just want to know how many of these guests, because you know all of them say they got a lot of veteran friends. So what they did, got on a robocall today or got on Zoom and had a conference call and asked them how they felt about what Trump said. You know, because they all said they talked to all their veteran friends.
Well,
and they said it was okay. I was just trying to see that they get on a Zoom call with all their veteran friends.
I don't think
have a conversation today.
I don't think they need to, Takesha. At the end of the day, I do believe Trump supporters believe that his vision, his direction for America is so far superior to what Kamala Harris is planning to do that
You're not getting what I'm saying, Handsome. They're lying. They have not talked to all them veterans today that they say they friends with.
Oh, I don't disagree with that, but I'm saying they don't need to. They're on the same page. The ones that are voting for Trump.
Page. It was all about, I had a lot of money when Trump was in office.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all they're for. I don't think there's anything Trump can say that is going to cause.
That's why I said there's no decency left, Handsome. It doesn't even matter if you talk about the servicemen anymore. As long as your name Donald Trump, you good. It doesn't matter what you say, they're going to overlook it. And I think that is the most sad, especially when you served alongside a lot of people who didn't make it back home. I think by you overlooking that, it's a disgust to the service.
I don't
don't talk about servicemen, but J.D. Van Sheen did never work for J.C. Penney Portrait Studio, and you had the audacity to say something about Tim Walton.
He's a Marine.
You ain't did never got you a 35 millimeter fun saver camera and took pictures, and now you want to talk about this man who served for 24 years. Shut up, J.D. Vance.
So you're criticizing him because he was a journalist or a reporter when he was in the
I'm not
military.
saying that. What I'm saying is he judged. He shouldn't have nothing to say while he was laying on the couch, printing out pictures to go in his little fun book collectible.
Yeah. In my opinion, if you're running for office, I know politics gets dirty, but my opinion, your military service should be what they say, off limits.
Off limits.
Yeah, that happened with everybody from John Kerry, the Swift boat. It happened to
just like this guy just said. Look how he talked about John McCain.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is Trump is talking about veterans while having served nothing at all and criticize. Right. Yeah, it should be off limits.
You kept talking about your headphones first.
Yeah.
Who can you talk about? Come on now.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. If you haven't served any time in the military, you shouldn't be criticizing the service of veterans. And you're right.
Oh,
Yeah, Trump has said a lot of things critical of people who have served in regards to their service. Now, if you want to say the person is a fucking idiot or lying about something, that's one thing. But he's criticizing people on service-related topics, and
absolutely, that's wrong, handsome.
yeah, I can't defend that. I don't have a defense for that.
That's very disrespectful.
Yeah, I don't have a defense for it. That's the same thing when folks suggest that Tim Walz abandoned his unit because he retired before combat, and that's the same thing I'm saying.
My cousin said that you have to put your paperwork in a year ahead of time.
Well, here's my point. The guy did 24 years in.
24 years.
For someone like me who has done zero to tell him after doing 24 years, when combat came around, you should have been willing to do 25, 26, and 27 years, and I've done zero. It's not my place to get involved in that. Let the man retire. He's done 24. I got zero. Yeah.
He suffered over his time.
Yeah. That should be off limits to me, but clearly we're not in that environment. People will attack your military service. Look, the DUIs or something like that, fine. Bring up that he had some DUIs from years ago, but the military service should be off limits.
But let me say this too, because in a minute I'm gonna turn over like an engine and go to sleep. Check this out. We are not finna use no 25th Amendment to get Biden out of office.
Where did that come from? I heard that.
We don't have to. Do you see the numbers? Do you see the hype? Do you see what Kamala is doing? We don't need to do that to win.
Yeah, I heard that. Why create more division like that? I mean, and by the way,
you gotta come up with some excuses because they're looking at this race and it's already over.
Yeah. By the way, invoking the 25th Amendment and getting rid of Biden before his term is up doesn't guarantee anything for the Democrats. Why would you do that?
It doesn't.
That doesn't mean Trump's going to lose. Yeah, there's no benefit to the Democrats to do that.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
No. I didn't have an answer for that, but I'll let you go ahead and turn over like an engine.
Turn over like an engine, baby.
Do you hum like that too?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Don't.
Bye,
Jesus. All right, Takesha. All right. Continuing on with the program. Lesson 1. Put it in the mouth and hum. Get it all, baby. You guys who may not know what song that's from. Anyhow, Jay Roger, she's delusional to think Cali is going red. I have a big adverse opinion to that as well. I don't believe California is at risk of going red in the next 80 days. That sounds far out to me as well. She reminds me of Tiffany Haddish. I'm a big fan of Tiffany Haddish. I like that. Since Takesha reminds you of Tiffany Haddish, energetic, comical. I like that. She could. That could be that's an interesting comparison. I don't totally disagree with that. James Brantley, she is good for business, Tim. Are you talking about Takesha, my last caller, or someone else? Moving on with the program. What does that says? Hurry, billions for Ukraine so we don't have to send a single soldier. Thank you, Biden. That is valid. That is valid. We didn't send a single soldier to the Ukraine anymore. We just gave them enough equipment to make them very competitive. In fact, if I'm correct, the news media reports that the Ukrainians are now in parts of Russia kicking ass, taking names, taking prisoners. They're actually in Russia, thanks to the assistance from the United States. So not only are they protecting their own homeland, they're actually striking a blow to their adversary. That would not happen under Trump because Trump said the war wouldn't happen. If Trump is correct, and Russia never went into the Ukraine, then Russia would still have all of its men, blood, and treasure that it has lost in this war, and it would be a stronger nation. Russia would be a stronger nation under Trump than they are under Biden. There's no denying they're weaker under Biden after 2 years of war. 2 years of war where they're actually appearing to not even be winning. At best, Russia is sustaining. They're not winning that war right now. So they obviously are losing humans, losing equipment, losing morale. That's coming because of Biden. And I will submit this to you because a lot of folks believe that Biden should not be assisting the Ukraine. Just leave it to its own devices. America first, nationalism, take care of ourselves. Let the world decide its own fate. Here's my adverse mindset on that. If under Biden's presidency, he took that advice, Russia went into the Ukraine, conquered the Ukraine, became a bigger, stronger nation because they took over the Ukraine. How many of you folks think the right would be suggesting that shows how weak Biden is because under his watch, Russia became stronger and bigger? You think the right would give Biden credit if he just let the Ukrainians get attacked by Russia and said, I'm only going to focus on America first. I'm not going to interfere with what Putin is doing? You think the right would think he was making the right move? Or do you think they would criticize him for the fact that Russia conquered a whole country under his watch? Think about that. And gee, it would be better to win $500,000 on one lottery ticket than to box and get beat up multiple times to get that money. He's just saying it's easier, better that way. Let me try to interpret this right. It would be better to win $500,000 on one lottery ticket than to box and get beat up multiple times to get that $500,000. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I don't know how that pertains to this though. I'm trying to figure out how does that relate to what we're talking about. But I would rather get money from a lottery ticket than get my ass kicked over and over again. No disagreement there. Grant Harvey, why is Trump flying on Epstein's old jet? They were friends and they partied together. That's all I'm gonna say. They were friends and they partied together. Look, we know the history of Epstein. We know what he was doing, but I don't buy into the notion that everybody on his aircraft or everybody that went to his island are automatically condemned to be in the same activity. He could be hosting parties and doing things for other reasons. I'm assuming because he had an island, he would have had contractors and chefs, performers coming out there. Does that mean they were all getting involved with kids? No. I don't buy it. And also I don't buy into the notion that the only people that were doing what he was doing hanging around him are people that's on the flight list. Because, they're coming up with people like Tom Hanks and Oprah Winfrey is on his flight list, so that means they did things. But, hey, Trump is not on the flight list, so he didn't. That's bullshit. If someone like Epstein, who essentially had his own pimp in the form of Ghislaine Maxwell, he had a woman that would bring him what he needed. You think he wasn't doing that on the mainland? You think every time he got aroused, he had to go get on the plane and fly to his own island? You don't think he was doing that stuff in New York, Los Angeles, and places like that when he got access to a pimp? So the idea that only people that hung around him that got on the flight list were involved, that's bullshit. If you hung around him, there's a good chance you may have done that with him in the middle of Manhattan somewhere as well. I don't buy that you had to be on the flight list because I don't believe that guy only committed those violations on his island. Surely he got excited or aroused while here on the mainland and did something here. I don't think he always got on the plane and went to that island. That's crazy. I'm just saying, man, if you already get legally responsible for grape, it's not that far off the margin that you grape somebody on a plane. True. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. Going back to the box, real quick in the comments, Megan says, you don't think Donnie Boy, who brags about peeping on young women on Howard Stern, didn't do anything? I think that anyone else that had the same quotes as President Trump caught on tape, such as the grab him by the you-know-what and things like that, I think anybody else that had that much circumstantial evidence on tape, people would suggest that, yeah, that person probably did something. I think we're giving Trump special pass on some of this stuff, but yeah, I do believe that. Let's say you found out that R. Kelly or Bill Cosby had a tape like that out there. I think you would tie it to what they're accused of. But with Trump, we're giving him a different mindset. I don't know what else to say with that. King Finn, good evening.
Let's go.
Hey.
All right. Well, such a shocking turn of events tonight. I just want to say, of course, to Keisha Bowie, I love when she get on, because she showed enough to be cooking. Because that was the first thing I wanted to say. My man straight up said some goofy shit like in the Bible, it said a woman should not leave.
Yeah.
Man, if you don't get your goof ass out of here with that bullshit, ain't nobody trying to hear that shit, because the Bible don't talk about politics. I'm sorry. And then again, you're right. Yes, Cleopatra was a woman, was she not?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, was there not?
So was Queen Elizabeth. Yeah.
Right. So what the fuck are you talking about? That shit sound crazy. Secondly, yes, I am totally okay with the fact that they dogging Mr. Couch Vance, who just sat on his couch with the damn pictures from journalism. Yep, he was a Marine. He might have made it through boot camp. Yep, okay, I'll give you that. My grandfather was a gunnery sergeant in the damn army. I'm sorry. For me, everything that Trump says is a fucking insult. You're going to stand there and tell me it's okay to say the Medal of Honor is not the same as the Medal of Freedom. Oh, no, excuse me. The Medal of Honor is the same or better as the Medal of Freedom. You know, either way you say it, it doesn't matter to me. Okay? You cannot say that. That's completely disgusting for him to say. And then the Gold Star families, are we forgetting?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. He likes his POWs not captured.
Yeah,
Man,
that's
are
it.
you serious?
Yeah.
Come on, man. Let's stop the bullshit.
Well, I will interject here and say that Trump has either outright been caught on video or been accused of saying some really bad things. You know, didn't he say? Wasn't he also allegedly accused of saying that people who serve are dumb or suckers and losers? I mean, he said some really bad things about military personnel.
Yeah, always. Yeah, that's the point. The people that don't like Trump have more outrage at the shit that he thinks and says because of the fact that they know that shit is wrong. That shit is wrong. Do you think people have lost their loved ones? You think my granddaddy wanted to go over there and jump out of a plane to go fight a war? No, he didn't want to go do that shit, but he did it out of honor, valor, doing it for something that he cared about. His fucking country. So for you to stand Joe Pasty Cheeto ass up there and say some goofy shit like that beyond all the goofy ass shit you said already, that's the slap in the face to me.
Bro,
that's what pisses me off.
You do understand there is a good probability that this could be your next president, right?
Yeah, that's just like California's going red. Fuck out of here.
So wait a minute. You feel confident? Wait a minute. You feel confident there's no chance that Trump was going to get elected?
You know, unfortunately, I can't tell you I feel 100% confident, but I feel damn confident that Kamala Harris is going to be our next president. Wow. And I'm so happy because I'm going to twerk just like Meg was up on the damn stage. All y'all mad that Meg is a black, that Kamala is a black, educated, strong woman. And y'all upset at the fact that she is woman. Do you understand how misogynist that sounds? How sexist and disgusting that sounds? Y'all mad because she a woman? She's not strong because she a woman? I'm so glad when you clap back on old boy with Angela Thatcher, Margaret Thatcher, and all the other names you said. Because are you freaking serious? Oh, wait. They really believe Trump is strong. Trump is real strong with all that eyeliner he got on. Trump is real strong with that gape and that diaper he got on.
Trump doesn't wear eyeliner, does he?
Come on, man. I know you done seen the pictures from his court. I know you done seen the pictures from the court.
Eyeliner?
That wasn't even just eyeliner. It was bad tan. Come on, man. I know you seen that.
No, wait a minute.
Listen, the court reporter, the dude who does, the artist who does the court drawings, had it pegged even better. He didn't have an orange jumpsuit, but he damn sure had an orange face.
I haven't seen. I know for certain he wears. I think everybody knows he's not naturally that orange because around his eyes you can see the natural color. He's far more pale around his eyes, but I never seen the eyeliner. That's up.
Orange. Come on, man. That boy putting something on his face. He making the Crayon Man look bad. Crayola need to go ahead and give him some stock, dog.
Jesus.
He got Crayola orange all over him, bro. Come on, man. Just keep it on it.
I don't know.
Keep it a buck. That's all I'm saying.
Why do you think he's doing that? I mean, it's not like, I mean, it's faker than fake titties. I mean, everybody know you're not that color naturally.
It's vain. It's narcissism. Him being vain. He wants to keep that orange look because everybody should believe he's from Florida. He tans so well. He looks so good, just like that fucked up ass comb over and that diaper that he shitted every time he talked. You can tell when he about to take a shit too because he paused. It's like he did in that damn press conference. He stood up here for like 5 minutes, didn't say nothing. That's because he was shitting. He was taking a shit in that diaper. Okay? I'm being honest with you. You think I'm playing? Watch his speeches. You say you went to the rally. You say you done seen his speeches. Take a second. When he pauses, he's taking a shit. I'm telling you, I've seen it. I've looked at it. I had to watch the shit myself because my uncle called me. He's like, man, I know you see this. I'm like, what you mean? He was like, watch this shit. So he played, we sat there for me. He's like, turn to this channel. Watch this real quick. He stood there for like 3 minutes and didn't say a word.
No.
He stood back for a minute and then started talking again. He was taking a shit, Tim. He was, man. Just like the presidential debate. Did you see how quick they took his ass off the stage? It was one dude in front of him, one dude behind him. That's because he had took a shit in his pants, man. Even Joe Biden's wife looked over at him like, what the hell? And
No, you gotta be making this shit up. No,
I'm not joking. I'm not just saying this shit because I don't like him. I'm saying this shit because it's true. You need to start paying attention when he's talking. When he stopped talking, he's taking shit, man.
I don't even know if
that time.
I mean, I don't even know if I want to see that. I assume I probably could look it up online and see that pause, but that because you're reminding me of my daughter when she was young. Babies, babies do that. They'll stop doing what they're doing, and you can tell they're pausing because they're filling that diaper up. You're telling me a grown man did that?
I'm telling you, a grown man is standing up there with a Depends on taking a shit, man. I'm telling you, it's happening. I'm telling you, it's happening. Don't believe me if you don't want to, but next time you see one of his speeches or you see one of the tapes of his rally, look real close when he paused, he freeze and stop talking. He ain't thinking. He taking a deuce, man. I'm telling you, it's a deuce. You think I'm lying? Pay attention next
All right,
time,
you don't fuck this laugh all the way. I gotta move on. God, that's gross. Oh my, because a grown man's waist. There's some big ass pieces of crap coming out. I mean, babies can make a mess, but a grown man, that's some big ass stuff coming out.
Listen, you saying that, but I'm telling you, look at his pants, man. He got it Depends on, dog, and it's big. Okay, it's big when he wears golf pants. Next time you see a picture of him golfing, right? Because he does that so many times a day, man. He go golfing all the time. Even though all the MAGA want to say, oh, he's making business deals. No, he ain't. He's golfing, man.
Okay, I got one I want to read to you because I think you might be slightly upsetting someone. I want you to hear this. This is coming from Polly Ingalls on YouTube. Trump took a bullet for all of us, and nobody cares about the color of anyone's skin. It's the policies, and some was having a medical emergency in the audience. That is why he froze. So stop lying, dude. So in other words, somebody in the audience maybe having heat stroke or something like that, and Trump froze on stage to see that they were being addressed. What say you?
Right, okay. We can stop that shit right now. First of all, I'm going to go right at exactly how you said it, right? Number one, that's bullshit, okay? Because it's always been about the color of your skin. I'm a black man, and I can tell you now, anywhere I go, it's about the color of my motherfucking skin. It only matters to you because you are probably white, and so is Trump. Secondly, he has no policy. What policy does he have? Stephen Jackson made all his policy up, Project 2025, and what was the other one? The Heritage Foundation, and all that Agenda 47 bullshit. That's his policy he's running on. Thirdly, I didn't see nobody in the damn audience having no motherfucking having no attack or nothing like that. All I seen was that grown-ass man standing on the stage, pausing for 3 minutes, either trying to gather his thought or exactly what the hell I said, taking a shit, okay? He was taking a shit. You ain't got to believe me if you don't want to. You can explain, MAGA can explain all this bullshit away if you want to, but once he go to jail and his cellie tell you the truth, you're going to understand, okay? He was taking a shit.
All right,
That happens all the time. Everybody want to dog him.
Jesus
Everybody
Christ.
want to dog people for saying this stuff.
Speaking of dogging people, this last one before I let you go. Eric B, and I'm assuming no connection to Rakim, but Eric B says, homeboy, referencing you there, King Fitz, says, homeboy is jealous of Trump. Trump has a supermodel wife, billions in assets, and a huge celebrity. Is what you're saying due to a tad bit of jealousy? What say you?
I'm jealous of Trump. What am I jealous of Trump for? That man has three ex-wives, 6 failed businesses, every damn body in the country. He's running for president to keep his ass out of jail. What am I jealous of him about? Oh, am I jealous because he has a camera in his face? I don't give a shit. I got a phone too. I can put a camera in my face right now. What do I care about that shit for? I want somebody to actually go to the White House and not fuck it up. If you can't see that Trump is the problem, then it just is what it is. It's gonna be division forever because people like him think that some dude is their savior when the only savior I recognize, and I know I know you got your views about religion, Tim. The only savior I recognize is Jesus Christ and God. Trump's not my savior. Neither is Kamala. Because I don't completely agree with everything Kamala has done either. But I can tell you what, Kamala listens to people. Kamala has an agenda. Kamala has advisors, and she listens to them. You know that one thing where she actually waits for people to talk instead of just screaming at them and waving her tiny ass hands? That's the thing that she does.
All right.
Doesn't do that.
All right, King Finn. Appreciate you coming through this evening. You're certainly cooking with gas. Doors always open to you.
Man.
Good talk.
Taking a shit, bro. Pay attention.
I don't believe that. I gotta go. I don't believe the former president would be on television pausing while he's taking a dump into some type of diaper or orifice. I don't believe that. I don't want to believe it. I don't. Anyhow, looking in the comments, Jesus, that's bad. Even thinking about it. Ed G, he said earning it is pretty much better because it's easy now. We're talking about the comparing of the Medal of Honor to the Medal of Freedom that Trump has said that they're both kind of equal. Ed G is saying that Trump said earning it is better pretty much because it's easier. Okay, it's easier to get the Medal of Freedom because you don't have to be shot at. But I get your point, Ed, but in my opinion, he just shouldn't have put those two in the same sentence. People have died for the Medal of Honor, or at the very least went through some pretty traumatic shit. You don't normally get the Medal of Honor without going through some pretty traumatic shit. Either you are dead, you're disabled from somebody trying to make you dead, or you actually were so savvy you prevented them from helping you become dead. So generally, if you get the Medal of Honor, somebody was trying to kill you in the process. I don't think it should even be in the same sentence with the Medal of Freedom. I just don't think he should have compared the two. Certainly said that they're equal or any of that. I just think he just made a really bad lapse in judgment, probably because of what my veteran Trump supporter said earlier in the program. He doesn't really know what he's talking about in terms of military. He didn't serve. He doesn't really know what goes into it. Remember, Trump has openly stated he didn't know what NATO was at one point. So it ain't that Trump is trying to be an asshole. It's that he's speaking on things he don't know nothing about. And it's coming out awful. He just doesn't know. My guess is he probably don't really know much about the Medal of Honor. Looking in the comments, the vets ain't mad, but people who never served are, says Ed G. I don't agree with that. I don't believe that's true, Ed. I can't right off the bat present you with proof that what you're saying is not true, but I probably could easily go online and find proof that there are veterans that are not happy that Trump compared those two medals. You're saying the vets ain't mad, only people who never served are. I would definitely disagree with that. I bet you there are plenty of veterans that do not like Trump saying that. But I don't have the evidence, so I'll leave it at that. Megan says, I know plenty of vets that are infuriated. Yeah, and that's my mindset is the same. I bet that is the case too. Roulette wheel. Trump never goes to the bathroom. He is divine. Yeah, you're kind of making the diaper case by saying that. And that is true. Trump can stay on stage and talk for quite a while. I don't know if I could do 2 hours without going and taking a piss or a dump. He does do that routinely. I was at a rally with Trump. Trump will get up there and talk until people go to sleep. I went to 2 Trump rallies. And by the way, MAGA treated me nice. I didn't, I like politics. I wanted to see what the energy was like at a Trump rally. I went to two, and yeah, it was cool, a cool experience. And I'll tell you, I can see where people sometimes doze off. It's not that he's boring; he is long-winded. And if you support Trump, well, shit, if you support Kamala, the same thing applies. But I'm gonna say Trump because Trump's been in politics at a higher level more than Kamala. And if you support Trump, the rallies are pretty much his greatest hits. Kamala's doing that right now, but Kamala's not really known for hosting a bunch of rallies. Trump is. The stuff he says in Pennsylvania is the same stuff he says in Nevada. And if you really favor Trump, chances are you've watched some rallies on television or Newsmax or OAN. It's the same stuff. So once you go to see him live, then Cal, thank you, appreciate that. If you go to see Trump live, it's really exciting for about a half hour with the applause and some of the comedy. But once he gets into the meat and potatoes of his rally, it's the same stuff he always talks about. The border, he's going to throw those same names. And I mean, he's going to talk about the election being stolen. He's going to talk about how he feels about the folks that were arrested on January 6th. They should be pardoned. He's going to talk about, Biden's failing. He's going to talk about, Nancy Pelosi. A little bit of Hillary Clinton's going to come up, but it's the same stuff. And 90 minutes into it, it does get to be boring to some degree. Not because Trump is boring, it's just because you've heard it already. I mean, I've watched a lot of Trump speeches on television. So, yeah, it's at some point it becomes Trump's greatest hits. Looking in the comments, I see somebody says, who was it? Mark Wooden says, fuck Joe Biden, FJB. We will see how the DNC goes. She might just be gone afterwards. That ain't going to happen, Shield. I'll tell you, most politicians get a bump from their convention. Just like Trump went up in the polls after the convention. I mean, we've seen Hulk Hogan up there doing this thing, Kid Rock doing this thing. He picked J.D. Vance. I mean, he got a bump in the polls. You don't normally leave after the polls. My guess is Kamala Harris, her poll numbers will go up after the DNC. You're going to have celebrities there. You're going to have Obama hyping people up. I think the only person that's not going to hype anybody up is Joe Biden. And they strategically have Joe Biden speaking on Monday. So Joe Biden speaks in the beginning, get his ass out the way, and then it goes all uphill from there. You're just going to hear, you're going to have celebrities, just like when Kid Rock and Hulk Hogan came through, particularly Hulk Hogan, and the crowd went nuts. You know how many members of Hollywood are willing to stand behind the Democratic Party? She's going to get a bump from that convention. Her numbers are going to go up. They don't go down after a convention. Let me go. If somebody says actual real celebrities, says John Marshall. Hulk Hogan is a real celebrity. He's at the end of his career, obviously. His main, his prime was in the 80s and 90s, but he is a real celebrity. But yeah, you're right. The Democrats are going to get younger, more current celebrities. That's likely to be true. I don't know if they're going to get Beyonce or Taylor Swift. I think those would be the big and little jokers to some degree. That would be it if you can get one of them. But there's a host of other people. And I think that the Democratic Party will get far more celebrities than the Republican Party did. Let me go back to the box. I bet Beyonce shows up, says Florida. Well, but let's see if she speaks, or does she just show up and sit there? Dencal, good evening. Oh, wait a minute. Did I hit it right? I always hit the, let me see. Did I fat finger it? Oh, we got the home. What does that say? The home? What is the rest of that?
Say that again, Tim.
What is that name there? The home? I didn't see the rest of it.
Of the laughs and truths.
The home of the laughs and truths. Do you have any truths you want to introduce?
Well, Tim, I wanted to comment on your comment earlier about
Thank you.
Wealthy benefiting only from Trump.
I didn't say only. I do believe that the wealthy, I think Trump is a better pick for you, but there are benefits for the Democratic Party too, but I think Trump would be a better pick. If you are wealthy and your bottom line is your primary concern, I think Trump would be a better pick.
was going to bring up is that during his Biden administration, you've had the biggest corporate buy of single-family residences after the commercial. Well, it's still going on. The commercial real estate market completely crashing, which is really the real reason what's driving up the price of housing, which really is driving up inflation in the whole.
Yeah, but you do realize the Democrats are likely to try to impose regulation and oversight to reduce how much you can charge people for rent and do things that would hurt that industry. Trump would never do that. Trump is going to reduce regulations.
I think I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago, he wants to regulate the amount of single-family residences that hedge funds and corporations can own.
Trump?
Trump. That one you can Google.
Oh.
And he wants to do that to bring the housing prices back down. On top, well, housing prices don't really matter when you have interest rates the way they are right now.
But here's the thing I'll say, particularly when it comes with Trump, I gotta put it on the back burner until I see him actually do it, because he's the guy who talked about bump stocks and talked about high capacity magazines. He's talking about police immunity. Sometimes he just promises things that he has no intentions of actually delivering.
I mean, I think you could say that about any politician. You could say that about Kamala and the Democrat Party running on a ticket of women's rights. Well, a woman's rights. They don't want any other rights for women. But the abortion issue. I mean, Clinton promised that, couldn't deliver. Obama promised that, couldn't deliver. Biden promised that, couldn't deliver. I mean, it got overturned during his presidency. Now Kamala's on that bandwagon.
Well, but here's the difference, though. When I say promise and not deliver, there's a difference between promising something and not delivering it because the other side was able to stop you versus promising something and not delivering because you never intended to deliver it. Like when Trump talked about fighting with the NRA, he didn't lose that because the Democrats stopped him. He just backed off of it. The Democrats didn't stop him from doing that. Now, the stuff you're talking about, like the liberals promising to codify Roe v. Wade, that's only going to get stopped if the Republicans put up resistance. They would actually deliver that. They actually would do that.
What kind of law nationwide do you think Democrats can pass after, I don't know how many years, decades of trying? What makes it different now than any of the other times? They promised that on the ticket. Oh, you can put a whole bunch of things in there, such as if a woman is assaulted or things like that. If a woman is mentally ill or going through various stages of depression, you can't force her to carry a baby to term. I mean, there's a whole bunch of ways you could word that to make it that you can't punish her. You got folks talking about they want to execute a woman that terminates a pregnancy. You can pass all kinds of laws preventing that from happening. But any state can do that now.
Yeah, but some of those states.
It's not just
Go ahead.
It's not just a national election for president. People should pay attention to who their local representatives are too, and what their views are on that stance.
Yeah, but the liberal states are doing it. The liberal states are, like Tim Walz, for instance. He passed a law in his state that codified abortion rights.
Yeah, Tim. He's been on that for quite some time. I'm trying to think of the laws he's passed for abortion. I haven't really looked into his abortion laws he's made there in Minnesota, but
Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan did something like that too. They are passing laws to do that.
Yeah, and that's great. That's the way it should be. It's up to the states. I think the people are making it an abortion issue when the point of the issue was people look at the states as they're unified, but they're not at the same time. They're kind of individual countries. Everywhere else in the world, a state is a country. And I think here, turning the values back over to the state, maybe some parts of the country they want it, maybe some parts of the country they don't. But there's no laws that Trump is going to pass that's going to take anything away.
Well, here's the problem. What happened is the states are passing these draconian abortion bans that the people in those states had no say-so in. So they took it away from the feds and just gave it to a bunch of right-wing state politicians that promoted policies that favored them. The people in those states, there is not one single state in America that has an abortion ban that the people actually voted in. It's just a few people in power that's doing it. When the people get a chance to vote, even in Republican states, they don't favor this stuff.
Yeah, I think that we'll have to see how that plays out down the line, but I don't see either side making a case for or against abortion on a national level ever again. They may think they can or promise to or something, but it's never going to be a national issue. It's been going on for decades. My whole life, it's been going on.
Yeah, I totally disagree with you on the guys that 4 top Republicans, Mike Pence, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, and President Trump himself have all said abortion bans can go federal. Mike Pence, when he was running for president, said that was his intention. With a 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court, there's no way in hell I believe that's not possible.
That's you could be right.
Yeah.
We'll just have to see how it plays out in the long run.
I mean, they're telling you. They're actually coming out and telling you that's their intention.
Who's coming out and saying that's agenda?
Mike Pence, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, and Trump. Even Trump said it could go federal.
There's nothing he can do constitutionally with a nationwide abortion ban. That's why it's went off the Supreme Court before. There's nothing that Kamala could do to make one that makes it legal everywhere.
Yeah, there is something. Let me tell you what could be done. Let me tell you what could be done. Orlando Torres, thank you for the support, the super chat. All you have to do right now, you have several states that if a woman is pregnant and you assault her, you can be charged with double murder. So you already have a law in the books that says taking the life of the unborn is murder. All you got to do is expand that to now anytime a woman wants to terminate a baby in any state. We've already deemed it to be murder. Once the Supreme Court rules that taking the life of the unborn is murder, that means it's now murder in all 50 states. It's that simple.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I've never understood that either, how someone can get an abortion, but yet a woman in the same circumstances gets, say, gunned down in a robbery at a convenience store, and they shoot the woman and she's pregnant and kills the baby. They're charged with 2 counts of murder for her and the baby, and yet that same woman can go get an abortion as well.
Because no one, the only reason it hasn't happened is no one has challenged it from that manner. But I'm simply saying if someone challenged it from the manner I just stated to that particular Supreme Court we have now, they're damn sure going to deem it to be murder. And at that point, once you deem abortion to be actually murder, okay, they've ruled as murder. That means even in states that allow a woman to have an abortion, they're committing murder. And the Supreme Court has already said it's murder. Then you could then start going into those liberal states and arresting those people. It's that simple.
Yes, that's a possibility, yes.
Yeah, so the idea that it can't go federal is hogwash. It absolutely can go federal.
Yeah, we will just have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and with a 6-3 Supreme Court majority, and you got J.D. Vance as vice president, you don't think there's a high likelihood that they may make that the goal?
Well, there's always a possibility. I mean, you look at the Supreme Court ruling that student loans were not going to be forgivable by the president, and he finds a way to go around it. So, as you know, there's always a way to go around something.
Right.
If there's a gray area, they'll go attack the gray area and make it come into law by a judge's decision.
Right. Well, I will just say this. If you had a 6-3 liberal Supreme Court majority, everybody knows the right would think you're going to lose gun rights, and I would agree with them that if you had a 6-3 liberal majority, you're going to start having a very liberal America. But the right is trying to convince us that a 6-3 Republican majority is not going to turn into a very right-wing America. That's not true. you're going to get a federal. If Trump gets reelected, he gets to replace, what is the guy? Clarence Thomas is 75 and Roberts is 74. Yeah, you could end up with a 7-2 Supreme Court majority. You're going to tell me some kind of way they're not going to make a federal abortion ban out of that? That's crazy.
I mean, it's a possibility.
It ain't a possibility. It's a high likelihood.
Regulation and very. I mean, I have to disagree with you on that. I mean, I think Trump is a very turn the rights over to states on every issue, not just as far as abortion goes. The abortion issue wasn't an abortion issue; it was a state's issue.
Well, once Trump put in those far right judges that are anti-abortion, he no longer has any say-so in it. They can go. They don't need him to have a federal abortion ban at this point. I already told you, if you go to the Supreme Court with the murder, the way I just described how murder takes place, Trump has it's hands off for him at this point. So a 7-2 Republican Supreme Court, and you don't think that it's almost a guarantee they're going to go federal.
I mean, that's a possibility. I don't know what state is going to take that case to the Supreme Court, but that's putting an awful lot of political lives on the line.
Rolling back Roe v. Wade put political lives on the line, and they did it anyway.
I don't know. I have to disagree with you on that. Some people see it only as an abortion issue. It was more of a return the rights to the states issue, which he wants to do on other issues too. Just for example, gun control. He wants to make it worse. I think since Biden's been president, I want to say there's been 7 states that have now made a no permit concealed weapon carry, meaning you don't need a permit to carry a gun concealed. Those type of rights too also want to be turned back over to the states versus making, from the liberal side, where you want to make a nationwide ban on no concealed weapons whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same kind of, different issues, but still the same kind of area of attack.
Yeah. Until I see the people in those states vote that stuff in, it ain't turning the rights over to the states to me. You're turning the rights over to right-wing state legislators. I mean, at the end of the day, the people in those states have not had their say. I think just about any state in the union, if the people are given a chance to vote on abortion, abortion is going to be legal in that state. And by the way, a lot of these right-wing states are trying to prevent abortion from being on the ballot. They don't even want to let the people vote on it. So I don't believe it's the idea that it's going back to the states. No, it's going back to some folks that have a far-right opinion. They're trying to prevent their own citizens in those states from having to be able to vote on it because they know it's not going to survive.
Yeah, and also there's a side of it where who does the government fund to get abortions? I want to say the last year Trump was in office, it was like 250,000 black babies.
What about it?
And back then they would say how racist that is, that he allows that to happen, that abortions are happening and it's happening to the black community more than any other demographic, and they are basically funding the deaths of the black race.
You know,
he can't win no matter which way he does it, whether he keeps abortions or whether he doesn't.
Well, no, I think women, at the end of the day, women want their own right to choose. They don't want somebody telling them what they can and can't do. So no, as long as you're trying to tell women what they have to do with their body, there's no way you're going to win on that. You're always going to lose on that.
And I think the other issue was I think where Trump was stating, and he misstates a lot, but his policies you read, I think what he was referring to was an abortion ban where it's funded by the federal government, meaning through a Medicaid program or something like that, that could be banned.
Yeah. As
far as banning the abortion process altogether, I don't see that happening.
Well, I want to play a quick clip before I'm moving on from you. I want you to hear this. I'm kind of hearing it for the first time myself, but I think I know what's about to be said here.
Okay.
In a podcast interview from 2022, the Ohio senator is heard expressing his support for a federal response to traveling out of state for an abortion. Now, the Harris campaign is sharing some of that audio on social media.
Okay, look, here's the situation. Let's say Roe versus Wade is overruled. Ohio bans abortion, in 2022 or 2024. And then, every day, George Soros sends a 747 to Columbus to load up disproportionately Black women to get them to go have abortions in California. And of course, the left will celebrate this as a victory for diversity. That's kind of creepy,
House Justice Izumi exterminate working class Black people.
Something like that could. I mean, that would be a really weird turn of events that could happen.
Yeah.
Yes,
and it's like, if that happens, do you need some federal response to prevent it from happening? Because it's really creepy, and I'm pretty sympathetic to that, actually.
Now that's J.D. Vance. He just stated that if George Soros, we know he's the Republican boogeyman, but let's say, for instance, if George Soros was using his money to fly women out of the state of Texas or some other right-wing state that has an abortion ban, and flying them with his money to another state that allowed abortion, he said he would be sympathetic to a federal response to prevent him from doing that. That's federal. That's J.D. Vance right there on tape saying it. What say you?
Yeah, I could see Vance saying that. I think we've talked before. I do not think Vance was a good pick for vice president. I think Trump missed a great opportunity to bring in some new, fresh blood, or even a woman as the vice presidency. But he's not a huge fan of Vance.
Yeah. But notice,
I think he was.
But notice when I told you the folks who said that abortion could go federal, I didn't even name J.D. Vance. Here's the fifth Republican. I named Pence, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, and President Trump all have said it could go federal. Now you hear J.D. Vance also saying it. So there is a large portion of the upper levels of the Republican Party pretty much telling you that a federal possibility it's possible that it could go federal. They're telling you right out the bat.
It's a possibility. It is, but I don't think that's really a priority goal for anybody in the Republican Party. I think they have bigger issues to deal with right now. I just don't see, other than the federal government paying for it, I could see on day number one them making a law that the federal government won't pay for it anymore.
Yeah.
But as far as just outright banning it or screening every woman that leaves a state, I mean, you go to the East Coast, forget about the West Coast because the states are spread apart so much. But you can drive 100 miles and go through 4 states. You can't just get an audit every woman that goes in and out of every state. It's not even possible to do.
So what do? Just ignore what they're saying?
To be honest with you, Tim, I would say Republicans pretty much do.
Yeah, wait a minute. Republicans want abortion to be banned. If an abortion ban goes federal, you're not going to have a bunch of widespread protests from the Republican Party because they already banned it in most of their states. If it goes federal, then it's just banned in liberal areas. The right is not going to be crying out if they do it federal. They'll just say, okay, well, that's what happened. But what I'm saying is they're telling you, several of them, that's almost a half a dozen people now that are telling you that it could go federal.
Okay, when Trump had the presidency and was control of the House, Senate, all that stuff, nothing happened then.
He didn't have a 6-3. He didn't have a 6-3 Supreme Court majority. He didn't have a bunch of loyalists in office. He didn't have immunity. He's a different guy now than he was back then. He has a lot more power. He's leading in a different direction. This isn't the same Trump administration that it was in 2016.
Tim, I just have to disagree that this is a huge political point with the Republican Party. I mean, I do see the point of it of being used for birth control and the federal government, paying I saw one example of 5 times for one woman. I just do not see it making it where there's no possible way to audit every woman going through every state. It's not even a possibility to do. Or forget the states, the country. What are you going to do? Audit every woman that goes in and out of the country for business reasons, whatever reasons they go for? I mean, it's just not even a possibility.
Here's the issue I have. When he ran in 2016 and the liberals were saying if Trump wins, they're going to ban abortion, they're going to roll back Roe v. Wade, folks were saying that the liberals were fear-mongering. As you say, it wasn't a big issue for them back then until it happened. So now here we are now saying, well, if you reelect him, it's going to go federal. And you're saying the same thing again. It's not a big issue for them again until it happens. That's what I'm saying is because let's be clear. If someone had said back in 2015, if you reelect Trump, you're going to have abortion bans coming back from the 1800s, people would have said the liberals are fear-mongering until it happened. So a lot of the things you're telling people don't worry about, that stuff is actually taking place. I mean, imagine somebody telling you 8 years ago, if you elect Trump, they're going to be forcing kids to read the Bible in school. You would have said that's ridiculous, but it's happening now. America's going far to the right under Trump. This stuff is actually becoming reality. So the idea that it can't happen, I'm not comfortable with that anymore. I'll give you the last word.
Well, I mean, you could also say the same thing where if 8 years ago, if you said they'd be putting tampons and kitty litter boxes in grade schools, that wouldn't even be possible. You couldn't even put that in a movie.
True.
And it's happening. So on either side, I will say I wouldn't put past anything, any party, but I will say overall for Americans, none of this political shit is going to work anymore if we don't start doing something. Yeah. America has got to join together as a whole and start taking back the country and stop worrying if the politicians are going to do it or not. Yeah. If we don't start coming together and get rid of all these divides we have and letting them win, I mean, we're basically following the Stalin textbook of how to take a country from a republic or democracy, whatever you want to call it, into communism. We are textbook following his book on how to do it. They're dividing us, they're conquering us, and they're winning. If we don't see that happening from both sides, then all of this is for nothing anyway.
Yeah, I think everybody knows. I think everybody knows we're divided. I don't know what the solution to that is, but I think we all know that. I gotta move it on, though. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you, Tim. It's been great talking to you again.
Absolutely a pleasure. Thank you as well. Now, I agree with him in regards to, 10 years ago, we wouldn't have thought they were putting tampons in bathrooms. But my pushback on that is this. I think they said like 1/3 of women now live in a state where abortion is banned. Tampons in bathrooms, if you're in school in America, probably over 99.9% of American schools do not have tampons in the boys' bathroom. That's just not, compared to the abortion issue, that's not affecting anybody. I mean, that's something that Tim Walz favoring the trend. And by the way, tampons in the boys' bathroom doesn't harm anybody. You're not going to have somebody dying because he put tampons in the boys' bathroom. Some of these women are at risk of losing their lives because they can't terminate a pregnancy. So this is kind of like the whole Medal of Honor versus the Medal of Freedom. I don't think those two things should even be in the same sentence. Combating abortion bans with, well, yeah, you guys are putting tampons in bathrooms. I don't even see how those two things are in the same sentence. That's just my opinion. I know a lot of you folks may differ on that. Nothing wrong with that. Looking in the comments, they hurt my feelings. It's just Ryan, what does that say? Ryan John? Going back to the box, the one and only, let's try that again with Dencal. Good evening, Dencal. Sorry for the delay there, but I appreciate you holding on, Dencal. Good evening.
What's happening?
Not much at all. Good to have you on this late. So what do you think? Now, my last caller, we got a little bit off topic. We talking about abortion. Do you think there's a possibility that abortion could go federal if Trump gets reelected?
Yeah. I mean, they said that's what they was gonna do. I couldn't look. I I try to do like you, and I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I try to kind of listen to their to what they're saying. Like, this dude was just off the beaten path. Like he just ignored everything you said about all of the leadership of the Republican Party going for this and saying if it happened, Trump would sign it. And he's like, well, I don't know. Like, maybe, it's possible, but I don't know. Like, he would do it. And what about these other things? Like, better you than me, because you was really, really calm.
Well, I will say this, though. Like I told him, they've already banned abortion. They've already banned abortion in all of their states, talking about the Republican Party. Just about all of the Republican states already have some form of an abortion ban. So if abortion went federal, they're not going to complain because it's only happening in liberal areas. They've already done it in their areas. So the idea that it's only going to stay to the states and you don't have to worry about it, that's crazy. They would have no problem at all if it happened.
They just listen to the secret tapes from the Project 2025 telling them what the plan is.
Yeah.
I don't understand why we having this like, dude, look, I would respect him more if he just say, look, that's probably what's going to happen if we, if we get him back in office. But, I'd rather have cheaper gas. I would respect a man more than just go ahead and say what it is, than to say, well, I don't know, I don't know if that would happen when they hire, they hired J.D. Vance, who's their guy, the 2025 situation, and they'd be like, well, I don't know if that would really, I don't even think he would probably do that. Dude, he said that's what he would do.
Yeah, I mean, J.D. Vance made it clear as day that not only would he be for states' rights, but he would be for stopping people from leaving the state to go somewhere else. I mean, he just said it right there. But as my last caller said, well, I'm not a big J.D. Vance fan. Yeah, but he could be number 2 in your party, and the guy that's in number 1's place is almost 80 years old. So you have a really good chance of a possibility of President J.D. Vance being our leader. I mean, Trump is 78. The possibility that J.D. Vance may have to step up. We've seen what just happened with Biden. There's a real good chance that J.D. Vance can end up as president.
I know you haven't really taken the time out to listen to the training videos of what they're telling people about Project 2025. Like they literally have training videos to tell them how to respond to questions about Project 2025. And they say, look, when people ask you about it, go ahead and deny it and just don't answer the question. Like, they have training videos. Look, I don't know how to really make it any more clear. Like, you can go look up the training videos where they talk about how Trump is all for it, and he's already given them their marching orders, but they can't really acknowledge him. And so they have to just say these specific things, and they give you a video, like it's a video telling you what to say when somebody says, is Trump for it?
Well, in the comments on YouTube, The Hunter says Project 2025 is the boogeyman to Democrats.
And that's exactly what the training video said to say.
Really?
Yes.
Well, here's my point on it. Trump tells you how he feels. Particularly if you say something that's making him look bad, like calling him weird or whatever, you see he speaks out about that. If President Trump did not want did not believe in Project 2025 or anything, he would speak out against that because it's certainly hurting his presidency. The idea that I ain't got nothing to do with it and leaving it at that. He would be attacking all of the right-wing politicians that are tied to it and, as look, you're hurting our party, what you guys are involved in, because a lot of them used to work for him. His name is in the book. He would be saying stuff about all of that. The idea that
he just brought back Corey Lewandowski. Dude, we understand what he's about. He tells us what he's about, but we have these memory lapses where we don't recognize what he said and what he's been about. Now these people have these videos of them saying yes, he endorses everything, but we need to distance ourselves from it while he is running so he can win. But we've got all of these secret documents ready to go from day one. As soon as he gets in office, we're going to move this agenda because he's approved of it all.
Yeah. Well, like I said, there's just so many ties to Trump, to the Project 2025, the creation of it, the authors and things like that. If he ain't got nothing to do with it, he needs to do a lot more than just say, I don't have nothing to do with it. He needs to start really pointing out that the folks, go ahead and accuse them of lying. Go ahead and, threaten to sue them for using your name. His name is in the book dozens of times. He's not, the outrage should be way stronger.
Right. He's got no problem firing people if they don't go along with his vision. That's his MO. You're fired.
Yeah. And I see in the comments, Scott J. Go ahead.
But he's got one of his right-hand men who literally his whole deal was he was going to build a wall. His right-hand man started a GoFundMe to raise funds from his people. They donated their money, and then Steve Bannon stole their money that was for the wall, and now Steve Bannon is still one of his most trusted advisors.
Yeah. Steve Bannon gets a lot of love from MAGA. But he's in jail right now for a few months.
He stole money from them.
Hey, sometimes you got to pay to play. You got to pay to play sometimes. I don't know. So I got to move it on, man. Go ahead.
I'm just trying to understand. When they say, well, Kamala said this or Kamala said that, but then when we ask them the same question in reverse, and they just ignore it. They just ignore. He said, blame me. I took away women's right.
Yeah. I've asked a lot of folks that try to somehow suggest that women didn't lose rights and Trump had nothing to do with it. And I'm like, why is he taking credit for it? But let me ask you this other question before I let you go. The comparison of the Medal of Honor to the Medal of Freedom that Trump is all over the news for saying, as a retired vet yourself, what's your opinion on that?
Look, there are all different types of awards and medals that go along with your service. Comparing a civilian honor on a political level to one that one earned in battle or combat, there is no comparison. There is no comparison. And to say that Miss Adelson, it's cooler that she got it because she didn't go through battle makes no sense to anybody who has served in military service. None of us.
Yeah.
None of us. Even though look, you can love Trump and you can love all of that, but if I tell you as one service member to another that some other service member gave him their Purple Heart from getting injured in combat, and he accepted it and said it's the best way to get it is by not being be injured in combat. That's a fucking problem.
Yeah, I think it's just, I don't think Trump means any harm, as they say on the Dukes of Hazzard, never meaning no harm. I just think it's a case of he just doesn't know what all of that involves, what's involved, all the sacrifice. I mean, he hasn't been in the military. I just think it's something he spoke without thinking.
What did the rest of the song be? Say ever you ever saw.
Been in trouble with the law since the day they were born.
Anybody who supports Trump, and I think the way I think. But when these people look into themselves and they listen to what he says, if they don't have a problem with it, then there's no redeeming qualities. I don't believe there's no.
Well, but then Cal, I do have to push back and say at the end of the day, the opposition is Kamala. They think Kamala is going to destroy this country. So yeah, Trump did say something right in regards to the Medal of Honor, but we're not going to vote for Kamala. They believe Kamala is going to destroy the country, so Trump is all they got.
There you go. Trump. Yeah. That's all they got.
That's how they look at it. I gotta go.
I know. Look. I give you credit because you really do a good job of putting that dichotomy. You know what I'm saying, and giving people something to grasp onto. But I will tell you the reason why you don't have a lot of people on TikTok anymore is because over time, when they've been interacting with you, you've kind of destroyed that inner feeling they had about Trump. Look, as soon as you get all of them people from YouTube onto your
all
right, go ahead.
I know what you about to say.
I'm gonna holler at you, man.
All right, see ya. I'm not that bad. Maybe I need to dumb it down. Is that what he said? All right. Oh my God, that's frightening. Okay, looking in the comments. By the way, repair and support. I do appreciate that super chat. I didn't get to it early enough, but you said Tim is wrong. Trump would need 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate and the White House. The Supreme Court does not write laws. No, they don't. But I gave my last caller before this one, the other caller, because my other caller was saying the same thing you're saying, is that Trump could never impose a federal ban on abortion. And I just gave you the way it could be done. All you got to do is go before the Supreme Court and make it clear that several states already provide justice for the unborn. Like I stated before, if someone takes the life of a pregnant mom, let's say while in the commission of a felony, that person can be charged with double homicide. So the justice system is already recognizing the unborn as a person and even granting justice for the unborn. So if you're going to view taking the life of a fetus or an embryo while in the commission of a crime as murder, then why wouldn't it be murder when a physician does it? If it's a healthy, viable fetus, you would charge a criminal with murder for it. So why doesn't the doctor get charged with murder for it as well? You're going to tell me a 6-3 Republican Supreme Court justice, 6-3 majority Supreme Court wouldn't buy that argument? Once you get the Supreme Court to deem that anyone taking the life of an unborn fetus or embryo is murder, then there's your federal abortion ban. That's it. You don't need to pass any laws. You just got the Supreme Court to acknowledge that if you take the life of the unborn, it's murder. Now, currently in our country, we treat a criminal that takes the life of the unborn different than we do a physician in some states. Now, I'm not talking about taking the life of the unborn to save the mom or for some major medical. I'm just talking about elective. A lot of women have pregnancy termination because they just don't want a child. Maybe they got finances going on. Maybe they're going to school, or maybe their job doesn't. A lot of folks this is not the time for me to have a baby right now. Maybe I'm 15 and pregnant, and I don't believe I'm, capable of being a mom at 15. Well, if you get the Supreme Court to rule that taking the life of an unborn is murder, then at that point, a physician can't do it either. There is your federal abortion ban. 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court. I'm 100% certain if that was presented before them, they would buy that. 100% certain they would be okay with that. And once they rule that it's murder, then all of the abortion doctors in liberal states are now committing murder, and at any given time, you can send the feds in to arrest them because it's a federal. It's very easy it is very easy to go from a state's rights issue to federally banning abortion. I think the route I gave you is probably the easiest because you don't need an act of Congress. You don't need any laws passed. You just needed to go before the Supreme Court and say, if you're already giving the unborn justice when a criminal takes the life of the unborn, why are you allowing a physician to do it? If taking a life is murder, then it's murder. And once they agree with that, then there goes any physician that would perform abortions. Now they are committing an act of murder and they could be held accountable. That is your federal abortion ban. Simple as. By the way, the mom too. If the mom decides to deliberately do something to terminate the baby inside of her, she too could be charged with murder. Because remember, we're now admitting that we're granting justice for the life of the unborn. It's as simple as that. There is your federal abortion ban. 100% certain that could happen. And that's just one way. I'm sure there are other ways. I'm not some savvy legal eagle. I think the way I gave is very simple, but I'm sure there are other ways they could make it federal. And they would. And I'll tell you this, if you had a 6-3 liberal majority on the Supreme Court, you think the right would believe that the left is not going to take away gun rights entirely? They would be telling you, yeah, if you get that much of a majority, we're going to lose our gun rights. We're going to have a far left America. There's going to be drag queens every damn where. But when you get a 6-3 conservative majority, they want you to believe, well, no, it ain't going to be a far right America. It would only be far left. That's hogwash. It's likely to happen. And as I stated before, Clarence Thomas is 75 years old. And Justice Roberts is 74 years old. And they both are very big fans of former President Trump. So if Trump gets reelected, I think it would be pretty easy to convince those two to step down, retire for the good of the party. They would go out as Republican martyrs. They would go out as heroes if they retired, and allow Trump to appoint maybe, a 40, 45-year-old, 50-year-old Supreme Court justice to replace Thomas and replace Roberts. So now you got a 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court that's going to last for a long time, because now Trump would have appointed 5 judges, all under 60. I think well under 60. So you'd have 5 of them in there. And keep in mind, both Sotomayor and, is it Roberts? No, I can't think of it. There's 2 more. But I think it's Clarence Thomas and Roberts are 75. And Sotomayor and the other right-wing judge, I can't think of the name of right now, they're 69. Sotomayor is 69 years of age, and there's another right-wing judge that's also 69. So it's possible Trump could replace one of them as well. Trump could end up going down in history as the first president to have appointed as many as 7 Supreme Court justices. One man, one dude is responsible for 7 people on the court. Tell me that's not a friendly court. One man, he already got 3 of them on there now. He's already appointed 3. He would be almost certain to replace Roberts and Clarence Thomas. So he'd have 5. One man would have 5 appointments by himself. You're going to tell me that Supreme Court is not ruling in his favor? You think that's an unbiased, open and free and fair Supreme Court? You think you would feel that way if Obama had 5 appointments? You would feel confident that court was in his back pocket. Well, Trump would get 5. Alito is the other. Yeah, Justice Alito. Alito and Sotomayor are 69. So one of them may not survive for the next 4 years either. They may live it out, but everybody don't live to be 80. Both of them, Justice Sotomayor and Justice Alito, are 69. So if he replaces one of them plus Thomas and Roberts, now he's put 6 of them in. So he could get as many as 6 to 7 folks on the court. And you believe that with him putting all of those folks in, there's no way possible it would go federal. Okay. All right. Looking in the comments, 5-year-old changes gender, 12-year-old puberty blockers, women getting pregnant is a choice too. CDC, 1 million abortions per year, 97% for personal reasons. Wow. I do believe that most pregnancy terminations are for personal reasons. Thank you, Crystal Lopez, for the super chat. I agree with that. I do believe, I don't know if it's 1 million. I used to hear it was around 500 to 750,000. But I do believe the overwhelming majority of pregnancy terminations are for personal reasons. I've had women disagree with me, but I hate getting in these conversations because I'm not a man and I don't want to be I'm not a man. I'm not going to terminate a pregnancy. It's not, in my opinion, it's none of my damn business, as Tim Walsh says. But I do tend to believe that most pregnancy terminations have nothing to do with rape or incest. It's just a mom that is not ready to have a child for some reason. Finances, the boyfriend left her, stress, job, just reasons like that. I mean, you are terminating what would turn out to likely be a healthy baby. I do believe she should have the choice to do that. I don't believe you should force anybody into parenthood simply because they got pregnant or were irresponsible. I don't believe that, but I do believe what Lopez is saying here is that most of it is done for personal reasons. Now, what I disagree with is 5-year-old changes gender, 12-year-old puberty blockers and all. I just don't understand why the right is making such a huge issue about the transgender community. To me, it just amounts to a tremendous amount of hate, of hatred. It's such a small segment, some of the things they're bringing up. Like, you got all these rallies out, but I'm going to keep men out of women's sports. When you look at where that's actually happening at, it's almost nowhere. It is this when you hear folks talking about keeping men out of women's sports, I would submit to you that conversation appears in probably 10,000 more places than is actually happening. About 10,000 to 1, where it's not really happening anywhere. It's not really an issue of significance like that. Out of all of the schools in America, from elementary, middle schools, high schools, colleges, universities, all of that, I say 99.9% of them are not dealing with this. They're not dealing with some man or boy that transitioned into a girl or a woman and now wants to play on the team. 99.9% of schools in America is not dealing with that. Yet it's coming up at every right-wing rally or gathering. Like listen, at the end of the day, if your daughter has a record and some dude is about to top it, I get it. It's not fair. You don't want it. I understand that. I don't favor it. I don't believe a transgender dude should be able to become a woman and go and beat up girls in boxing. I'm not a fan of it either. But to make it to this sizable issue like it's happening every damn where, it's insane. Out of all of the things that we could be dealing with in this country and focused on, we're making light out of a subject that 99.9% of Americans are not dealing with. 99.9% of Americans don't even know somebody that's dealing with this. Whole towns have no experience of this at all. Whole counties do not have a single person dealing with this. In my opinion, probably whole states. There's probably a few states out there that don't have a single athlete that's doing this stuff. But definitely whole towns, whole states. And I see the comments, Trade Alliance says you have no proof. Yeah, I do. The right would be highlighting the shit out of it. Just like when they say that all of these immigrants are coming over here and graping and unaliving everybody. And I often say that it's happening nowhere near to the level the right is saying. The proof is that they're not telling you about it. Every illegal that comes over here and commits a really major felony, they plaster that shit all over right-wing media. And I watch a lot of right-wing media. The proof that it's not happening is that they're not telling you about it. Because they're putting up, even when an actor gets, what was his name? Rick Moranis, the actor from the 80s, got punched in the face by an illegal. They had that shit on the TV for about 2 weeks. They're finding every illegal they can that's committing a major felony to tell you about. So if you're not hearing about murders happening constantly, it's because they're not happening. That's your proof. That is your proof right there, because they want to show that these people need to be kicked out of this country, that they're harmful, that they're graping and unaliving everybody. So if they had examples, they would give them to you. It's as simple as when you do have an immigrant that does something like that, like the guy who I think he grabbed a nursing student, and that was Georgia and New York. He had a connection to both cities. They showed that on TV on Fox for like 2-3 weeks. He was an illegal, and he did take the life of an American. They showed it for about 2 weeks. 18 million of these people, and if Trump is correct in saying they're all rapists and unalivers, you should have a different grape or taking of a life every news cycle. It should be 18 million. It should be people dying everywhere. You shouldn't have to keep showing the same one over and over again. The fact that they're doing that, that sure prove that it's not happening. Because look, I'm from the south side of Chicago, and I'll tell you this. When you watch the news in Chicago, very violent city. Chicago is very violent. Lots of murders happen in Chicago. If you watch the 10 o'clock news in Chicago, you're going to see that somebody lost their life in a shooting. When you watch the news tomorrow, somebody has lost their life in a shooting, and it's a different person than the person you saw yesterday. That's proof that it's happening a lot. When they show you the same person over and over again, that means it's not happening a lot. And that's what's happening with right-wing media and the immigrants. They're showing you the same story over and over again. 18 million rapists and unalivers. You should have new stories every single night. Every night there should be a different one of them. And there's not. There's not. So once again, just like with the transgender issue, it's being ballooned out of proportion. It's just being ballooned out of proportion. It's not to the level that they're perpetrating. I live in California where 2% of children identify as trans. Oh my God. Crystal, serious? A big ass state like California with tens of millions of people, you're telling me 2% of children in California, they would literally be everywhere. 2% of children in California identify as trans. All right, Crystal, and I do appreciate you supporting the program. We don't agree. We don't have to agree, but that sounds wild to me. 2% in a state that's, God. I mean, that would have to be hundreds of thousands of children. And I see in the comments, Megan says it's way less than that. We all know that, yeah, it's gotta be. It's gotta be. But I mean, you would have 2%. I mean, every other school would have a transgender child in it. Jesus. Go back to the box. Wow, that's crazy. They may be LGBTQIA. 2%? I don't even think that's the case. But certainly not trans. Interestingly, it's 69% in the rest of the country. 69% what? 95% of statistics are made up on the spot. In this case, it might be 99.9%. 2% of all kids in California identify as trans. That would be insane. Maybe Mr. G can come and correct it. Mr. G, good evening. Or good morning, by the way, here in the middle of the country.
How's it going? What's going on? How you doing?
I'm kind of perplexed to know that 2% of children in California are identifying as transgender.
that's. I can't say nothing about that. That's crazy, though.
Yeah.
I mean, but they want to live how they want to live, you know?
Do you believe it's possibly true?
It could be.
2%? You realize how many kids that would be? You would let me just say it this way. If 2% of children in California identified as trans, you wouldn't answer that question as could be. You would be like, well, shit, there's a lot of them there. They're always on TV. I mean, they would be everywhere. 2%, that's got to be 1 million kids or more.
Right. Yeah, California is a big state, so yeah, that would be a lot of kids. So I highly doubt it.
Yeah. I doubt if it's 0.2. I doubt if it's even 0.2%.
Right.
And I see in the comments, Zoko Man says they got hit with the space laser. So.
Oh, gee. Space lasers and all that. What kind of racist shit is that?
That's a Marjorie Taylor Greene special. So let me ask you this. Now, are you a veteran?
I am a veteran.
Okay.
11 years Navy.
I appreciate it. Good shit. Thank you for your service. So, what about Trump's statement comparing the Medal of Freedom to the Medal of Honor?
Okay. That is a different beast right there.
What's your opinion?
The Medal of Honor is a whole different beast, right? That's only specifically for military personnel.
Right.
The Civilian Medal of Freedom, that's a whole different thing. That's for civilians, like the Peabody, like the Pulitzer for peace and prosperity or whatever.
Did you hear Trump's exact statement on it?
I did, and that's a whole lot of bullshit. He doesn't respect military at all. He doesn't. Yeah, I'm from New York City, so I already know. He's a bullshitter.
Well, I was told earlier in the program that veterans didn't have any problem with it. That veterans were not mad at him for it.
No, they don't care. I mean, it slips off their back, so they don't care. We hear a lot of shit, so it rolls off the back like nothing, you know. So we hear a lot of shit. It doesn't faze us much. But when I hear that, it's just I don't like that.
I've had opinions coming from both sides. So, is there any chance though that you might be voting for Trump?
Hell no! The fuck out of here! No.
Well, he had a lot of folks favored his economy, man. And you're a veteran. There was not a lot of world wars under Trump.
No, I don't care because he could have paid off. Like he pays off a lot of people. He goes on op-eds. I mean, if you hear a lot of the stories from the past, the 80s and 90s, he played on both sides. He paid off people just to say good things about him and stave off bad things about him. You know, it's whoever's voting for Trump is really ignorant.
No. Wait. You don't think there could be any intelligent folks that have a reason to vote for Trump?
There is no reason whatsoever. If they heard every word that he said about he likes the not educated people.
Yeah, he said that.
And then most of the people voting for him are not educated or not fully educated, not college educated or anything like that. You know, they're in his camp. So.
Yeah, but what if you believe that President Trump gave this country a far better economy than the Biden-Harris team?
Say that one more time.
What if you believe President Trump, as a successful businessman, did a far better job economically for this country than Kamala Harris and Joe Biden? Isn't that a reason to vote for Trump?
No. negative because obviously he inherited a good economy from Obama.
Well,
So
but
he
some
took credit for a lot of the stuff Obama did, and everything was trending down or upward. All of the bad stuff was trending downward as Trump got into office, and he just basically got credit for it.
so you don't believe economically Trump did anything good for this country?
No, not at all.
Because I see Boris.
He talks a lot of game. He talks a lot of shit. So, and then he'll just take credit for anything that's good and blame anything that's bad to other people.
But Mr. G, the man got 74 million votes, and I see Boren TV says, I literally only want Trump for the economy. There's a lot of Americans that believe nobody could do better with the economy than Trump. If what you're saying is true, Mr. G, why do you think the man got 74 million votes?
Because they're ignorant. They're ignorant. They don't know Trump. They just saw him and saw him rambling, and everybody else was just a regular politician saying the same old stuff. And then they heard Trump rambling through everything, and that's a real motherfucker, so I'm gonna vote for him.
No chance they can actually be intelligent.
Say again?
No chance they could actually be intelligent.
No, he's not.
What if you believe in
Been rich? He was born rich, or he was born rich, and he got he inherited a fortune from his family, and he took that and he squandered it.
What if you believe in protecting the sanctity, protecting the life of the unborn? Is that not a reason to vote for Trump?
No, because that's what choice is. If you want to have a child, you can. If you don't want to have a child, then don't. Or if there's somewhere in the middle, then you have a choice.
What if you don't want babies being unalived?
Nah. that's your prerogative. If you don't want babies unalive, then that's your business. But that's not. Don't push it on somebody else's.
What if you don't want U.S. taxpayer money going to other countries that a lot of Americans don't believe benefit them at all? Is that not a reason to vote for Trump?
That is a lie, because no matter what, tax money is going somewhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you want your tax money going or where you don't want your money going. It's going somewhere. So I believe somebody's tax money is going to Trump's attorney fees.
Yeah, I don't disagree. What if you don't want biological boys playing for females sports? What if you want to keep boys out of female sports? Is that not a reason to vote for Trump?
That's not my business.
What if you back the blue?
I believe no, because I believe there are some good cops out here, but they're not saying much to cover or to expose the bad cops. So obviously, everybody's gonna get lumped into one thing.
Yeah.
So obviously, it's not working.
What if you want the Second Amendment to remain in a shall not be infringed upon state? Is that not a reason to vote for Trump?
No, because we believe in the Second Amendment too.
Really? You don't think the liberals want to infringe on it at all?
I believe we want gun gun knowledge,
common sense gun laws.
Yeah, common sense.
That's infringement.
No, that's not infringement, because obviously if you still have guns and gun safety, I mean, that's not infringement. You know, rules are written in blood.
Well, what if you don't want statues coming down and folks trying to rewrite history? Is that a reason to vote for Trump?
No, that's rewriting history. That's obviously Republicans are very hypocritical. I've said that before. They're the biggest hypocrites of all in the universe, because they want to rewrite history and gaslight us like nothing is going to happen, so they can continue bullshitting us.
Well, I don't know if I take it that far. So at the end of the day, you don't think there's a single reason to vote for Trump at all?
Hell no, because he's a dumbass.
Oh my Lord. Then how the hell do you think the guy became a billionaire several times over if he's a dumbass?
Yeah, no.
I mean, he's a very successful businessman. He can't be that dumb, can he?
Failed. He obviously, throughout the whole history of Trump, he barely got his business up through tax abasements and tax write-offs and all that stuff. He cheated his whole life. So, hell no. Hell no.
Last question.
That's white privilege in the white.
Last question. Based on your answers, how would you respond to someone who says you sound like someone with Trump derangement syndrome?
You got the Trump derangement syndrome. You all up in his asshole right there.
Damn. Yikes. All right, Mr. G.
Hey, one more thing, brother.
Sure.
I want to give you your flowers, bro. Thank you for, being a central voice between MAGA and liberals and everybody. Even though I disagree with you that MAGA doesn't get a fair shake, they do get a fair shake. They literally push their way into the stratosphere with their bullshit. The real reason why they're talking the way they are is because they really pushed their way in. And you know how Trump went into the G7 and pushed his way through the
Well, some people like that because it shows Trump projects strength. Some people like that Trump does that.
That's just being a dickhole. That's it.
Well, Ed G on YouTube says everyone who doesn't agree with me should have no rights or say so is basically what you're saying. How do you respond to that?
Basically you have no rights or what?
No, he is saying that basically interpreting you as everyone who doesn't agree with you should have no rights or say so. That's how he's interpreting you.
Everybody has rights. If I disagree with you, you have the right to have your opinion, but don't push your opinions on me. It's been about 400 years, right, since slavery and Jim Crow, and now everybody wants to say anti-white racism, reverse racism, and all that stuff. That is a whole bunch of bullshit right there.
All right. Mr. G, appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
All right, brother.
Talk to you later. You too, as always. And by the way, folks, yes, the program is MAGA friendly. I disagree with my caller on that one point. I do believe MAGA sometimes does not get a fair shake, which is why you'll always see the MAGA hat on the program, is because I do believe that conservatives, Republicans, and MAGA don't always get a fair shake in the media. And you'll see the hat waved around here is because it is a MAGA friendly program. But we let liberals talk as well. We're open-minded for free speech no matter what side of the aisle you're on. MAGA, conservative. Like I said, we go left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with QAnon. Everybody gets to speak. That's how we do it. That's how free speech works. You don't have to agree with the host. You don't have to agree with anybody in the comments or any of that. We do believe in free speech. Boren TV, we have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory gun buyback, and that's allegedly a quote from Kamala Harris, totally not anti to it. Now, I don't believe that the Biden-Harris team is pro to to the level of shall not be infringed. I do believe they would infringe on this. I don't think you're going to lose your gun rights 100% under a Biden or a Kamala Harris administration, but I do believe your gun rights would be more secure under Trump in terms of exotic weapons, maybe more military style weapons. I mean, if you just want a Glock, you just want a shotgun, something to hunt with, something to defend your family with, I don't believe that Biden or Kamala is going to take that away. But when you start getting into the military stuff, the high capacity stuff, yeah, they will. I do believe that the liberals are likely to try to interfere with that. So I do believe the Second Amendment is going to be more stronger under the right. Dorin Otis, thank you. Woot, appreciate the super chat. Thank you, Dorin. Made my evening with that. Thank you. Appreciate that support of the program. So yeah, I do believe that the right is going to be more favorable to the Second Amendment. So I'll leave it at that. But the mandatory buyback thing, if the goal is to get weapons off the street, I mean, buyback will work, but it's going to take some generations for it to be effective. I mean, it would take generations for it to be effective. And even then, it's questionable. Now, unlike a lot of hardcore folks on the right, I don't buy into the notion that America, it is impossible to get guns. It's impossible to make America a gun-free country. I don't believe that. I do believe it can be done. I just think it's something that would take a very long time, and a lot of people are going to fight it. But there are countries on earth that has done it. New Zealand, Australia, Norway, and these countries used to have they used to have gun access. They had a mass killing and they took it away. And it worked. It worked. I'll tell you my humble opinion, if you were going to do something like this, and understand the way I'm going to structure it, it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. It's going to probably take, I mean, we're talking like, what, 450 million guns or something like that are in the country, more guns than people. It's not going to happen overnight. I would say if I was trying to do this, and by the way, I carry, so I'm not trying, but if I was going to try to do this, I would leave the Second Amendment as is. The Second Amendment protects your right to own a firearm. It says nothing about selling guns, making guns, or any of that in the Second Amendment. It is simply your right to own a firearm. Doesn't say anybody has a right to sell guns in the Second Amendment or the right to make them or any of that shit. So first thing I would do is I would start placing some real strict limits on people that sell guns. I would start trying to make it really hard to sell guns because that's not in the Second Amendment. So if you own a gun, if you own 50 guns, you would be able to keep them under my rule. I'm not going to take your Second Amendment rights away. I'm not going to take any of your guns away. What I'm going to do is cut off the spigot so that there's no new, so that very few new guns are entering the fray. Now, the buybacks that folks like Kamala Harris are talking about become more valuable. And I'll tell you why. If you cut off new guns entering the market, the first thing that happens, and this happened under the Obama administration, everybody thought Obama was going to take away guns. So the price of ARs tripled. All of the price of, anytime a Democrat gets in office, because of the rhetoric from the right that they're going to take away guns, the price of everything goes up because people think they're going to take away guns. Now, it doesn't happen. They just end up selling guns at a higher price. Under Obama, they sold guns at a really high price. Trump did more to the Second Amendment than Obama. Trump imposed far more laws and restrictions on the Second Amendment than Obama. But I'll tell you this. First, you take away the ability to sell guns, make it real hard to sell guns. By doing that, you're only having the 450 million that's in the pile. Now, out of the guns that we have on the streets, you're going to have guns being taken from criminals. So out of that 450 million, how many guns do the police take off the streets from criminals? That's going to be reducing the number. The buyback programs, certainly now that there's less guns being made, the buyback programs, people are going to be paying more money for guns because it's not as easy to buy new ones. So the price of guns increase. So maybe somebody does have 10 guns, but they living in a dilapidated home or trailer park somewhere, and they're thinking like, shit, I could use this money to get another car or get my engine fixed or get my car fixed. Let's sell one of them pistols now that they're going for $800 a piece or something like that. So the buyback program would start to be effective because the reason the buyback program doesn't work is because there's constantly a flood of new guns entering the market. Once you start limiting new guns that come in the market, the buyback program starts to work. Now, you could do the same in terms of paraphernalia, gunpowder, brass, lead, all of the things that go along with it, parts. That stuff's not protected by the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment doesn't say you have the right to make ammunition or the right to, that's not in there. It just says you have the right to bear arms. So you're limiting folks from getting new parts, things like that. So I didn't take away anybody's Second Amendment rights. If you had a gun, you can keep it. But the gun you now have is continuing to go up in value. And you're getting older. Maybe the gun outlives you and your wife or your family realizes, I'd rather have the money this thing is worth. It's now worth 10 times what grandpa paid for it. So the buyback program will become incredibly valuable. And I'll tell you one thing, in regards to whether buyback programs work or not, the nation's pawn stores are a perfect example of how effective gun buybacks are. Pawn shops have a lot of guns. They offer money for them. And pawn shops have no trouble finding people willing to sell guns to them because they buy them. And imagine if the guns suddenly became more and more valuable. More and more of them would show up at the pawn shop. More and more. Now listen, if you're a hardcore Second Amendment, loving citizen, you want to be able to protect your family, you want to be able to hunt, you want to be able to stave off tyranny, you're not going to get rid of your gun no matter how much it's worth. But that's you. Other people will. So people are selling them. Folks who own them are dying and their family are not keeping them. Maybe they're selling them. The cops are taking some of them off the street because they're shooting up in value. Maybe criminals are taking them more. I mean, the amount of guns in the mix is getting less and less and less. You'll never get it down to zero, but you'll certainly get it to a point where a firearm is too valuable for somebody to go out and buy and commit a $10 purse snatching. You're not going to go out and use a gun worth thousands of dollars to go get involved in some crappy shit like that. I mean, even in countries where they ban guns, the upper levels of criminal enterprises still have them. But the petty street thug can't afford them. They still have them within, the mafia or some of the higher level entities in these countries. But that's because they have money. The poor, you're not going to have a lot of petty crimes being committed with guns because those folks can't afford guns. So you still have a society where some people are armed. It's just less of. Now, I want to address another side point. This came in from one of the commenters on YouTube talked about printed weapons. Now, that's a whole different animal. Say you're forgetting the fact that I can literally 3D print guns, amazing quality, no full auto pew-pews maybe. Yeah, but there's so few. That's just like saying if you get rid of guns, people will use something else. They'll use bombs. It requires a skill. Right now, if you want a firearm, you can go on the street and get one. In some cases, for less than $100. For less than $100. If you start limiting them, and people got to go out and print them and shit like that, and they're at risk for being charged with major felonies, they're not gonna sell you that for $50. They're not gonna go out and do that and put all that risk up to be pumping pew-pews on the street for $50. You're gonna pay some money for that. And once again, as I just stated, the typical street criminal is not gonna be able to afford it. So yeah, there will always be armed citizens in this country, but now you're beginning to limit who can get it. And as a result, a lot of the petty crimes that involve firearms will dry up. Now, it would remove a lot of Americans' ability to have a firearm to defend their family because I can't afford to go out and pay $5,000 for a Glock. That would happen, but it would become more and more likely that if somebody does break in your house, they're not carrying one either. And that's what's happening in these countries where they've banned firearms. The criminals are not carrying them. They don't have them. They don't have access to them. They can't afford them. Yeah, they can use a knife or something else, but they're not carrying firearms. And all of the other options you may choose in replace of a firearm, they're not as effective. Whole crimes are virtually impossible to do if you don't have a firearm. On the south side of Chicago, where I'm from, it's not uncommon for a party to get shot up. Hard to do that if you don't have a firearm. Drive-bys. Hard to take out that same person if you don't have a firearm. You're going to park the car and get out and run at him with a knife, he can escape. You're going to try to drive and run him over, he may see the car coming. Firearm, he can clearly see you and he can't get away. Firearm is, the reason people choose firearms is because it's simple. They are very effective at the job. If people have to choose an alternative to a firearm, the success rate is going to drop because all of your other choices don't have anywhere near as much of a success. I mean, imagine you got places where a 12-year-old can go to school and take out his classmates. Take the firearm out of the picture and it gets harder and harder for him to do that. Kids can run away. Teachers can now fight back. You know, I have no problem fighting a 12-year-old with a knife or a stick. I don't want to fight them with an AR. So I do believe it can be done. It just would take a few generations. But the minute those things become unaffordable, you're starting to get somewhere with it. And that's the problem right now is firearms are very, very affordable in this country to the point where anybody can get one. I mean, you could have a paper route or work at a burger flipping job. And it's not hard to go out and buy a firearm. I mean, anybody can afford them. So once you make it so that anybody cannot afford them like that, you will start to limit how many are on the street. Looking in the comments, Ultra Ego says, shit, the funerals get lit up here too. Yeah, I went to a gang funeral on the west side of Chicago, and that does happen. That does happen. Funerals get lit up. That is absolutely true. And by the way, like I said, if you take the firearm out of the picture, it's far harder to do that. I suppose 7 or 8 guys could run into a funeral home all with knives and machetes and do it, but a lot of the people could outrun them. It's a big difference. But if you walk in there with an AR, ain't nobody getting out. I mean, the reason they keep choosing firearms is because they're far more successful at what they do. Not to mention, most trauma surgeons will tell you it's a lot easier to save somebody's life where somebody tried to take them with one of these alternative methods than with a firearm. I mean, firearms are really good at killing. I mean, they are really good at killing. Looking in the comments, I sold 3D print guns to a local buyback for profit. Wow. All right. Is it legal to make those right now? When they say the Second Amendment shall not be infringed upon, is it legal to make your own firearm? I'd be curious. Somebody let me know in the comments. Can you just, I mean, obviously there's not going to be a serial number. I mean, most places you don't have to register it anyway. I don't believe I registered mine when I bought it, but is it legal to just make your own shit now? Let me see in the comments. I don't know. I'm not, look, I for protection, fine, but I'm not a connoisseur like that. I'm fine with carrying a firearm for 2 reasons, not the third reason. There's 3 reasons why you have the Second Amendment. Number 1 being to able to protect yourself, loved ones, property, livestock, you name it. That's number 1. Rule number 2, to hunt, to feed your family. Rule number 3, tyranny, to stave off tyranny. I'm not a fan of allowing citizens that have firearms to stave off tyranny, for the simple fact that we're in 2024, not 1724. The weapons you need to stave off tyranny now: ricin, anthrax. You need man pods, tanks, armed aircraft. I mean, drones. You can't stave off tyranny with an AR, an AK. You need way more than that now. Back in the days of the Redcoats and George Washington, when they had musket loaders and horses, yeah, you could easily have the same thing as them and stave off tyranny. In today's world, that's not going to happen unless you have a ton. I mean, if David Koresh in Waco, Texas couldn't do it, you're not going to be able to do it. I mean, he had a house of like 80 people, all willing to die for the cause, armed to the teeth, and they couldn't do it. If they couldn't do it, you're not going to be able to do it. So I'm not a fan of that, because that's when you start talking about giving folks the right to bear arms to stave off tyranny, that's when you start putting some really wild shit in the hands of citizens. And it's far, far more likely that your firearm is going to be used to harm an innocent person than to stave off tyranny. It just is, because we haven't had that much of that in America anyway that was stopped by firearm. And by the way, I'll tell you this before I move on, is that we've always had the Second Amendment in this country. From day one, we've always had the Second Amendment in this country. Yet the country was founded on slavery. Women didn't have a right to vote. White men that did not have property couldn't vote either. I mean, the point I'm making is this: we've been tyrannical from day one. The Second Amendment didn't stop any of that shit. Women didn't gain the right to vote and get rid of tyranny by way of the gun. They used the pen. They negotiated their way out of it, just like with African Americans and Martin Luther King and all of that. Didn't happen through violence. Well, some violence, but it didn't happen by way of the firearm. So the idea that owning firearms will prevent tyranny, I would give you America as an example that that's not true. We've always had the right to own firearms, and we've had tyranny for most of America's history. Up to, 2015? Same-sex marriages just became legal in 2015. We weren't even allowing them to get married. All of that's tyranny. We've had it the whole time with the Second Amendment. So it clearly doesn't stop that. I mean, I think we're the best example of that. Anyhow, folks, somebody said 2024. Wow, that's even worse. But it did. It was called the Civil War. And protests, only reason government can stop open protests is because the populace is armed. We had tyranny well after the Civil War, the GDM, I think that says. The tyranny in this country did not end at the Civil War. I mean, all of that Jim Crow shit, all of the women's suffrage shit, all of that stuff went on well over 100 years after the Civil War. And it was not stopped by firearm. None of it was. Firearms did not stop tyranny. It just doesn't. In fact, Some of the most tyrannical places on earth have citizens that are armed. I mean, you'd assume that Saddam Hussein was tyrannical. I mean, there's plenty of guns in Iraq. You don't have what it takes in modern time to compete with the government. You just don't. If America decided to go tyrannical on its citizens, you don't have what is necessary to stop that. And you could get with another 200-300 of your partners and you still wouldn't have what's necessary to stop it. You just don't have access to that stuff. Appreciate you folks. Says firearms are a higher chance that, what is it? Firearms are a higher chance than your little knife. Well, appreciate that. Had mustache alter ego. Thank you. Appreciate you rolling with your guy at this late hour. But if firearms gives you a better chance of defending yourself, but against tyranny, you're just gonna get slaughtered. Now, I mean, you see what's happening in Ukraine right now, where they're using drones and shit like that, armed drones from the air. You sitting around waiting for the government to come knock down your door and take your firearms, and they got robots outside setting your house on fire, and didn't nobody even show up. They outside with robots, like either throw this shit out the window or the house is gonna go. I mean, I think the problem in America is that when we think we're gonna stave off tyranny, we're not contemplating what real tyranny is like. Real tyranny is like Gestapo, where they don't give a shit what they do to you. If this country gets like that, you're not going to stop that with what you got in your house. It's just not going to happen. What you got in your neighborhood, what you and your friend, you're not going to stop that. The real tyranny, the stuff you guys don't think is going to happen. Anyhow, folks, I do appreciate the nearly 100,000 likes, nearly, for this late hour. I do appreciate that much smaller audience. Same on YouTube. Appreciate you folks tuning in this late hour. Nevertheless, I do have a few engagements earlier in the morning that I got to get up. And I see somebody in the comments, Ed G says the Taliban didn't need all that. The Taliban did it with AKs and sandals. Yeah, but the Taliban was able to successfully do it because their government didn't have the stuff that the United States has. If you had the same mindset, determination, and weapons of the Taliban in America, you wouldn't be able to take on the U.S. government. The former powers that were in Afghanistan, they never had the equipment that they have in the United States. You're not gonna. If the United States want to do something that's tyrannical to you, you're not going to stop them with what you got at home. Big difference. Real quick in the comments, before I move it on, one of my viewers, I will go ahead and follow through on this. Gregory, the floor is yours.
Hey, Tim, you were talking about firearms specifically right now?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of restrictions on firearms, and people say don't infringe on my Second Amendment, but when the Second Amendment was written, what were the firearms at the time?
Musket loaders.
Right. So the current mode is, your 9mm, your Glock, all that shit, right?
Yeah.
And then the more extreme that some people look at is the AR-15, AR-4, or AR-15 and AR-10, all that.
Yeah, long rifles. Yeah.
So all you have to do to kind of help at least try to curb this as a start is, in order to get a silencer right now, because you can get silencers in America, 42 states allow a silencer, requires the ATF Form 4, which is a Category 4 license. It takes anywhere from 6 to 18 months to acquire after going through all ATF backgrounds. Put the AR-15 and tell that same thing. Everyone right now grandfathered in, and anyone else from here on out has to put it in the ATF 4 form.
I don't know. I think, to me, that sounds more like, well, maybe not. That might not be infringement. Yeah,
How is that infringement?
Yeah, you might be on.
It's not infringement. You can still fucking have it. You just have to wait. Stop being so Amazon fucking Prime now bullshit.
You pose a good point, because that's what folks are saying about abortion rights. It hasn't been banned. You just got to go somewhere else, and there's just a few extra steps you got to take, but you can still do it. You're saying the same thing with the AR. We didn't ban it. There's just a few extra steps you got to do.
Tim, can you have a grenade?
Yeah.
Tim, can you have a mortar? Tim, can you have a fucking bazooka? Can you have a name a weapon that came out since 1538 that you're allowed to not have?
Yeah. There's just a few.
And then tell me that's an infringement on your fucking right.
Yeah. That's a good point. You can
that's
get
what I'm saying. People bitch about this infringement shit like they don't have something that can still kill someone downrange.
Well, and I think that's where the issue is.
Thank you, Walter. A claymore. Can you have a claymore, Tim?
Can you get that?
Legally?
Why would a citizen need a fucking claymore? Wow.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, so people say AR-15 for hunting, and I've had one hunting rifle and one AR-15, and I built my AR-15. And I had to register and everything. I built it in Texas while I was in Texas, the military, I built it there. And it was so much fun to build, so much fun to shoot. I would much rather take a 30-06 to go hunt, bolt action.
Did Texas make you register that AR?
No, I registered because it's the right fucking thing to do.
Okay. Oh, you did optional. Okay.
I don't know if it was optional. I just registered because I thought I had to. I didn't even check.
No. Because I don't think Texas requires you to do a damn thing.
No, they don't. Probably not because it's Texas. But I mean, all it takes is putting these things on a different registry where you can still have them. You just have to go through different steps. It doesn't infringe on your right. You can still fucking have it. Infringement doesn't mean not allowed to have it. It means extra steps to get more powerful things you want. If you want a silencer, it takes 18 months maximum.
Well, they're not going to agree on that because the belief is if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. So if you allow the liberals to delay it,
I agree.
Yeah, and I don't know why they don't. I throw that argument back with abortion. The same thing. If you give them an inch, which they don't already move from freedom to states' rights, they're going to take them out. They don't believe the same argument in reverse.
They jumped from an inch to a mile in 6 months on that. So
yeah,
they want to argue one side. They're saying, well, that's you're using this incest / grape thing as the 1% that happens. And I'm like, well, the 1% that happens from guns in schools is also a thing. You can't go one side and not agree to the other, or else you're being disingenuous and you're a piece of shit.
Yeah, I do see the abortion argument in the Second Amendment argument. There's a lot of similarities. The liberals believe that banning guns saves lives, just like they believe that banning abortion saves lives.
Same thing.
There's a lot of similarities between the two. I really think there are.
But both sides refuse to see those as competing arguments.
Yeah. That is true because both sides think that the ban is hurting their freedoms. So I mean,
yes, except for one thing. One side, the ban is hurting 50% of Americans, which is all women and girls, and the other one is affecting all children.
Wow.
So if one is affecting all women and girls, and the same one is affecting all women and girls is also affecting children, she'll be looking at one as more of an issue than the other.
Well, I'm going to tell you that the right would probably disagree with your numbers, but
I don't give a shit what the right thinks about that. They've already said they don't give a fuck about anyone else's rights, other than whatever they deem what they think they need.
Yeah, well,
let's be real. And people may think that we're being mean or we're being rude now. No, fuck you. Your prodigy boy that you put in place in 2016 made that the normal. So go fuck yourself.
You think you think that Kamala can beat him?
I hope she can. I think she's developed enough of a upward projection, and I think that her VP pick was enough to sway the independent voters to help kind of pull toward the left side and vote Democratic.
What do you think about J.D. Vance?
I think J.D. Vance is... I think he was a terrible choice. I think there was no reason to pick him because he grants Trump zero of what Trump was already going to get.
I've said the same thing. I believe that...
The evangelistic side, and J.D. Vance is... I mean, to not, keep bouncing back on the same shit I was saying, J.D. Vance is fucking weird.
That's the word nowadays.
He is is fucking weird.
Yeah, I said before that I believe Trump facing against Joe Biden thought he had the victory in the bag. So when he made his vice presidential pick, he wasn't worried about the impact because he knew he was going to be President Biden. I believe that if Trump knew that he'd be running against Kamala, he would not have picked J.D. Vance. He would have picked somebody that was more consequential to his election because, as you're pointing out, J.D. Vance's biggest teammates are the evangelicals in the state of Ohio, and Trump was going to win both of those anyway.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think if he had known he was playing against Kamala, he would have picked a woman like Nikki Haley, even if he didn't like her.
Wow.
And I 100% agree with what Florida Sucks said, that J.D. Vance was the best VP pick for the Democratic Party.
He definitely is a real good one. I don't know if he's the best out there. I'd have to look into something because we didn't know J.D. Vance had some of them.
No. They picked him and it fucked them over and helped us out.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is, if there's a possibility that there are some other Republican candidates out there that has some of those awful quotes in their history too that we don't know about until they get selected and people start digging into their past. The Democrats, when Trump picked J.D. Vance, the Democrats didn't know that all of that stuff was in his past. Them talking about women should be pregnant and all that stuff. I mean, nobody knew that. So if Trump picked, Vivek or Ron DeSantis or some of them, I'm sure some of that stuff would come out. Maybe not to that degree. Who knows? Because look what came out of Tim Walsh's past. You wouldn't have thought that stuff was there. I mean,
the shit in Tim Walsh's past is so minuscule compared to anything else. And let's be real, the biggest threat to J.D. Vance other than the Democratic Party is the Ottoman Army.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I get it, but yeah, I agree with you. J.D. Vance was a bad pick, and I think a lot of MAGA also would agree. A lot of Trump supporters also are not big fans of J.D. Vance. Yeah, he's doing. By the way, didn't he compare Trump to Adolf?
Yeah, before he became the full, hard right-wing MAGA Trump supporter, which we can all, I hope most of us can agree that MAGA is not the GOP, because I miss the days where the left and right could reach across the aisle and make, a handshake, and now they can't because, Boebert and fucking Marjorie Green and the psychos on the right that are hard third party, not even MAGA anymore, not even GOP, but MAGA. They aren't even the GOP anymore. They just haven't separated the party yet.
Yeah. They used to reach across the aisle and make America great. I gotta move it on, though, Grant. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming through.
Always a pleasure.
Absolute. And looking in there we go. Thanks, Greg. Looking in the comments real quick, some could say that abortion is extreme. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Listen, I'm for a woman's right to choose, but I'm not going to pretend like you're not taking a life. I mean, I just believe a woman should have a right to choose. I don't downplay what it is. I just think that if I'm not going to do anything at all to help that mother, how do I look telling her what to do during that time in her life? And now, if I heard that the right was, opening up all types of, places to deal with people and mental health issues, nothing. I don't hear anything other than I'm going to make sure by law this kid is born. And then after that, nothing. So based on the idea that you're not doing anything to help that mother that's producing those children, I don't think you should have a say-so in it. Now, Damian H. says it's murder. Like I said, I agree. You're taking the life of something that was going to be alive. No argument there. I'm pro-choice, but I don't disagree that it is taking the life of something. But it's also not giving a damn about the life of the mom. The right is for saving the life of the unborn. They don't give a damn what condition the mom is in, what it does to the mom, how the mom became pregnant. None of that. It's simply about saving the life of the unborn. Up to and including even if the mom may be at threat of losing her own life. We're only here to save that baby. We really don't care nothing about the mom. And that's where I think the issue is that women can see that. There's just no concern over the mom at all. Up to and including if she may be about to lose her life, you're still going to force her to have it. And I see in the comments somebody says, give it away. It says cactus flower. Here's the issue I have with the safe havens, the abortion clinics. You say give it away. I don't believe there's going to be enough of that. What is it? Somebody said in the comments 1 million. I've heard about 500,000 to 750,000 babies are terminated. If all of us, let's say, because the liberal states are still allowing termination. So let's say we went from 500, or if we went from 750,000 pregnancy terminations. Let's say we don't went down to only 200,000 to 300,000 because so many states have banned it. There's nothing being put in place to deal with this extra 200 to 300 children that are being born to moms who originally told you they didn't want to have a child. And the notion that if a mom tells you she don't want to have a child and you ban abortion, she's going to turn into mother of the year is ridiculous. She done told you she don't want the child. So these are not going to be children born to great moms. And the idea you could give it up for adoption doesn't work that way. There are kids waiting to be adopted right now while we're conversating in states where you can terminate a pregnancy. People are not adopting kids to that level. They're just not. Some of these kids are going to end up spending their entire life on foster care, being taken care of by the system. And unfortunately, a lot of them end up in the system when they become adults too, because they didn't grow up with the same nurturing care that many of us had. I just think there's a bunch of repercussions. I'm fine with you trying to save the life of the unborn, but I think that's all you're focusing on. And there will be repercussions to doing it. There's just not a lot of people, certainly when it comes to minority children, they don't adopt very well. And that's who is having most of the children. Yeah, there's some families out there that will adopt Black and Hispanic kids, but not as many of them that these laws are going to create. And I believe the next step is, if you got a mom that is banned from terminating pregnancies but keep going out and irresponsibly getting pregnant, and she doesn't have enough money to take care of all of these children she's creating, the next step is to punish her some kind of way. Sterilization or something like that. You can't just keep popping out kids and putting them on the system. And now that we don't let you terminate them, you got to have them. And I think the next step is going to be to punish her. I just don't like the bans, because I don't see anything good coming down the pipe for women. I think every aspect of this is going to ultimately be bad for women. Yeah, you'll save the lives of some unborn children, but everything about it is bad for women. There is no concern with a woman's health, with her mental psyche, even with her age. I mean, we already got a real life case of a 10-year-old being impregnated by a relative and them forcing that 10-year-old to become a parent. There is nothing good in this for women at all. It's almost, I don't want to call it this because it's not, but I'll say it's akin to like an anti-woman law. It just has nothing in store in it that's good for women. Even if they keep the kid, you're not even going to help them with it. I mean, there's just nothing good for the woman in this at all. So to me, it's almost like it's just like an anti-woman law. You look at this, and it's all about, we are saving babies at the mother's expense. If she has to go through some health issue, well, we're going to save this baby no matter what. It literally is akin to an anti-woman law, in my opinion. Christianity is the most immoral religion on earth, says Boring TV. Wow, yikes. Yeesh. I'll leave it at that. Harris is lame as fuck, says Total. What does that say? Told the parakeet? What kind of name is that? Harris is lame as well. You may get a lame president soon. She could win. I want you folks to understand it, particularly my beloved MAGA in the audience. To like I said, we are MAGA friendly here, but I'm telling you the truth. She could lose too. I'm not going to say she's guaranteed to win, but my humble opinion is that Harris is doing better than they're telling you. She can still lose, but my opinion is that she's doing probably better than you're hearing. For the simple fact is, a lot of folks on the right believe that the media favors the left. And there is a lot of media outlets that lean left, no denying that. And I think we all know that high voter turnout tends to help the Democrats, and low voter turnout tends to help the Republican Party. So my guess is a lot of left-leaning media outlets, to encourage higher voter turnout, is telling folks that Kamala is not doing as well as she probably is doing, because it will prevent the left from becoming complacent in this election. Keep telling them it's close. Keep telling them that Trump may take it. Plus you're telling them he's going to, get rid of democracy and do all these bad things at the same time. So yeah, don't tell them that she's in the lead, because then they may not show up to vote. So I do believe that Kamala Harris is probably doing a little bit better than they're telling you in the polls. But I think we're down to about 80 days, and we'll see then. Anyhow, folks, I do appreciate you folks tuning in this late hour. I do got to get up for some earlier engagements. It's your boy Tim. Follow the chat if you guys enjoy civilized dialogue from all sides of the aisle. And by the way, I'm going to be on Rumble so that I can start taking live callers from the MAGA side of the aisle. The Handsome Liberal on Rumble, if you will. I'd ask that some of you folks go over there, because I need a certain amount of subscribers before I can take live. But currently I can't take YouTubers live, so I'm going to be doing it on Rumble. So I'd ask that you go to Rumble and do your boy a solid. Give me a subscription on Rumble, and we'll hopefully go from there. Until then, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Feel free to subscribe, like, catch it in. And the same on TikTok.